In the quiet of the evening, over glasses of wine, the main characters' gazes met. This day would change everything. They were approaching adulthood, and with it something that none of them dared to talk about. Damien felt it first, but the fear that Celia would be frightened by his desire was stronger. And at that moment, when the hero was ready to cross this line, his desire to change everything was shattered into pieces. One question of hers turned out to be the end of his hope. Why did Damien want to sleep next to her? Because then his concubine would be disappointed. Even in early childhood, Celia experienced the taste of loss. Hunger became the first page in her life, determining her future path. Then a terrible drought struck the lands whose prosperity once seemed eternal. Fear consumed the entire continent. But while chaos raged in the world, Celia's native lands remained unharmed. Amatrin was as if protected by an invisible shield. The smallest piece of land held the biggest secret while the rest of the world looked down on it. But a deadly drought changed everything overnight. When other countries' grain ran out, Amatrin's grain became even more abundant. While fertile countries became lifeless deserts, Amatrin flourished in the shadow of other people's sorrows. In the impasse of fate, impoverished countries began to seek salvation in the wisdom of the great oracle. Princess Amatrin, the favorite of the gods, the words of the oracle fell upon Celia like a sentence, changing her life forever. Everyone wanted to own the only heir of Amatrin as the cherished key to power and prosperity. Marrying a foreign prince became a condition of peace. The princess became a bargaining chip in the political arena when she was only 5. Many people are not destined to live a long and happy life for various reasons. It seemed that Celia was one of them. The king's heart could not accept that his only daughter would suffer such a fate. He wished her happiness, but fate decreed otherwise. Other nations saw in the little girl only an object for achieving important goals, leaving her the role of a toy in the hands of others. The king saw his daughter's marriage as a matter of the heart, not a political decision. The poor child was already growing up without knowing her mother. The most powerful powers put unbearable pressure on tiny Amatrin. The king was brought to the brink, deprived of support. Then the favorite of the gods ceased to be a salvation for her people. She became a strangling yoke. The main character made a decision that deprived her of everything. Her daughter's choice became a wound, a bleeding pain in her father's heart. What the princess did was a farewell to everything that was near and dear to her. But even after the decision was made, the king did not give in and set a condition. This was the last thing a father could do for his daughter. At that moment, Celia's fate was completely erased, and a cold unknown awaited ahead. The fate of his only daughter turned out to be different from what the king had dreamed of, and he could not help but intervene in it. Celia would decide for herself who she would go with next. For the father of the main character, the well-being of his daughter has always been more important than the crown. For her sake, he will go to war and to exile. The king's unbending will proved stronger than the voice of the crowd. His daughter's heart was a true compass. It would lead her to the right person. Thus, starvation tipped the scales and deprived Celia of her family forever. And ahead was the choice of the only person to whom the main character would entrust her heart and future path. The heroine's heart always felt the truth and immediately pointed to it, so Celia got married for convenience at the age of 5. A marriage of convenience would be a blessing if there was hope of turning it into a marriage of love, and Celia had chosen him, Crown Prince Dimian Semmel. None of the main characters were looking for this connection, but something arose between them very quickly. Celia bore the heavy burden of the curse, but Damien became a guiding star and illuminated her path out of the darkness, proving that any curse can be dispelled. The prince opened the door to a happy life for her. He even allowed Celia to play with his hair, taking it as a sign of their special connection. Time has witnessed their unbreakable bond. They shared the same bed, weaving the years into a single whole. The whole nature of Semele's heir was an example of how wonderful a person can be. The protagonist healed her soul with his light, returning joy and peace to the princess. But Celia also became a change for him, which Dimian did not even expect, but so badly needed. It seemed that only happiness awaited the main characters, but fate decreed otherwise, and their light will certainly be followed by darkness. Just yesterday they were enjoying their paradise, but today became hell for Celia. Her body was torn apart by pain. Damien's soul was torn apart when he looked at her, but he continued to be near. The herbal decoction was supposed to restore her strength. The new pain became a signal that the main character was changing and a consequence of a new chapter in the story. Celia was the first to wake up. Horror seized her soul. Her piercing scream was heard in the silence. There was blood on the bed. It seemed that an attempt had been made on the life of the god's favorite. She tried so hard, but in the hearts of people, the old feeling of hostility flared up again. Her fear was visible in every movement, while Damien radiated a cold calm, like a rock in a storm. His imperturbability was unbearable to her, but everything was not as it seemed to Celia. Damien knew this. When the main character expected him to act, Mion chose to leave. But her heart did not believe that he could hurt her. At that moment, Celia realized that no matter what was happening around her, her faith in Mion remained unshakable. The main character immediately showed that her faith in him was absolutely correct. He brought those who could help her. Since then, Damien has been by her side, and that devotion has never faded. Over the years, fate has taken a lot from the main character, but in return it has given much more. In loss, a special connection was born. The world around her became different. Celia felt it, but when she accepted the changes, Damien suddenly changed. For the first time, her appearance caused Damien to feel a sense of excitement, similar to what he had experienced as a child before an important event. The prince saw the approaching coming-of-age ceremony as an opportunity to begin building the future he dreamed of. Growing up will give them the keys to a new reality, opening the way to the unknown and inspiring them to do more. The ceremony brings the starting point closer, after which the old life will be left behind. It is their turn to move forward. Their feelings will become mature and deep. The main character will become her guide to a new world of unknown desires. It's time to open her heart so that Celia understands what love is and that Damien is the one she's waiting for. The main character looked at the young man differently, as if she finally understood the reason for his anxiety. Damien was nervous because of the unknown and the newness of the coming chapter. As spouses, they were about to spend a night together that would unite them. Mion had to trust Celia. She knew what to do. She didn't need to be told anything. Celia knew everything. She would choose the most beautiful concubine for the young man. It seemed that just a second ago everything was possible, but just one phrase from her, and the world that Damien had built collapsed. Their dynasty needs an heir to strengthen the crown's rule. The queen must take care to ensure the future of the monarchy. Seeing the shock on his face, Celia realized that something unexpected had happened. Didn't Mion really understand that they were expecting heirs, and that the storks wouldn't bring them? This was surprising, since they were both given biology textbooks. Then the young prince gave money to the butler for a brief summary and received only the main conclusions. Damien probably never saw their relationship as an opportunity to start a family. They shouldn't share a bed anymore. Word by word, the girl moved further and further away. The phrases became a barrier, erecting a wall between them. Her denial hid the fear that had been sown by other people's words. Celia was afraid of what had been suggested to her, not what actually existed. The protagonist knew her too well to discern this, but even though her words were justified, they still resonated with pain. Damien realized that the time had not yet come for big discoveries in their personal life. Her heart needed more time. Celia doesn't understand him yet, but the time will come. The main character knew this. Mion seemed to have gone into another world when he stopped talking. It seemed like the young man was planning something. They wouldn't take a baby away from commoners and pass it off as their own. Mion must have gone to read that biology book. Celia wanted to reach out for him. She strove towards him, but fear was stronger. The main character was so afraid of losing their connection and did everything to stay close to him. The girl was already ready to take a step towards him, but someone else's words stopped her halfway. In the palace greenhouse, Celia visited Mother Mion, and after that her world collapsed and formed again, but differently. It was Queen Nemeria's desire that led to the god's favorite's arrival in Semele happening quickly. When Celia found herself far from home, the queen's warmth and support helped her get through difficult times. They hadn't seen each other for a long time. Nymeria wanted to see her son, but instead the bastard sent his mother a letter, so this week Damien is in disfavor. Even on the coldest days, being with Mion and his mother was as warm as being under a gentle sun. There was no hint of any hidden danger until the question was asked. The princess must already be pregnant. And just when it seemed that all the best was yet to come, a moment passed and now everything is different. All eyes were on the royal court for an heir. a burden fate had placed on Celia. Social adulthood occurs at 17, and legal adulthood at 19. The heir should have already been born. The main character's heart itself wanted to be closer, but her mind remembered that it was impossible. When the princess arrived in Semele, the light came. Then everything changed. With her appearance, the forests came to life and the birds began to sing, as if nature had heard the call of its favorite. When the princess stepped onto this land, life blossomed, awakening Semele from her sleep. To be the favorite of the gods is the highest honor, but honor without action will not secure her future. Celia knew this. Even her father had adopted an heir. Power must be passed on, not lost. The absence of an heir is a death sentence for every family, and the girl did not want such a fate for her house. Having left Ametrine, Celia knew that her place was where she stood, and she had nowhere to return to. If anything happens to Dimion before their heir is born, without protection she will become easy prey for the nobles. Nymeria was still listed as a concubine, so Damion's origins were in doubt. Nymeria's power has become a shadow of the past, and now her help is worthless. Celia must protect herself. An heir is an anchor that will keep a girl afloat, and his absence is a wave that can turn everything upside down. The emergence of a successor is the foundation on which the entire royal court rests. Her position will become unshakable, and her word will become law. But if the princess doesn't like this, it is possible to give birth without her personal participation. However, this was denied in that biology book. Celia must find a concubine. Since this role is not for her, a place must be made for another. There must be a noble woman who will be content with her position, without chasing the heights of power. Nymeria was like that. She got along better with the first queen than with the late king. The woman always felt that these children were connected, but it seemed there was only closeness, and depth was never found. Nymeria did not want the royal throne. It was someone else's pinnacle, and her place was freedom. Suddenly the queen died. The concubine was crowned by force. She was given the scepter, but her heart did not know joy. Nymeria became queen, but it was not her choice, but a sentence of fate. While Celia can choose, such freedom is not eternal. Over the years, the woman has come to understand that being a queen does not mean sitting on a throne. It means having strength in your heart. There is so much light in the princess's heart that it seems as if she herself illuminates the world. Celia is tirelessly devoted to those around her. Even in the darkest days, the girl would remain true to herself, Nymeria knew. She would not fail now. Celia never fully understood the depth of her feelings until she came of age. Now it was too late. Time has passed, leaving only a bitter aftertaste of incomprehensible feelings and unfulfilled hopes. One day, Dimion said that he liked someone. Fate gave Celia a chance, but she was never able to see it. The factions began talking about another aristocrat, a marriage with whom would guarantee Semele's prestige. Then Celia decided that Mion was talking about her, too. The main character wanted so much to become his world, but became only a shadow blocking his sun. She tried to create his happiness, but only added trouble. The heiress of a small kingdom could not provide any support. The path to his well-being was clear. Next to Dimion, there must be a concubine of stronger origin. Realizing that she was an obstacle in the way, Celia chose to step aside. Another would give birth to an heir and become Mion's support. Carrying the burden of truth, she made a painful decision. Her half-sister Mayani appeared, as if she had been waiting to see everything fall apart. Despair consumed the heroine so much that the world around her, and she in particular, did not exist for Celia. Despite her apparent indifference, Iris caught something in her eyes and stopped. Duchess Hyde was not related by blood, but contrary to the canons of such a plot, she was always warm to Mion. As for Celia, Iris had always been strangely cold towards her. Her heart did not respond to any attempt to get closer. The cold and piercing gaze added coldness to her already fragile state. Iris still did not leave, as if waiting. The sister patiently waited for their idol to crack. She knew it would not last forever. In every word Iris said, there was a story that she had carefully hidden all these years. Although their relationship did not work out, Celia always knew that behind the external detachment there was an incredible depth of feelings. Iris's hatred was not empty, nor was the step forward. There was a motive behind it. The Duchess asks to make Kiara Sortians a concubine of Damian. The familiar name sent a chill down her spine. All of Kiara's thoughts were always about him, and her desires were about marriage. Kiara was not chosen. They did not want to make her the crown princess, but she begged for it. The king took pity on her and allowed her engagement to his son. The noblewoman was not needed personally, but her connections and the position of her house kept her afloat. An alliance with the lands of Tiber will build a bridge between the countries. Such benefits will not notice the disadvantages. Her infatuation with Mion had long since turned into an obsession, and Kiara had lost the ability to see anything other than him. Since childhood, mania has driven Kiara to her goal, but obsession is not devotion, but the desire to cling to a person and possess him. This obsession is scary. Celia can't trust her. Of all the possible options, Kiara is the worst. The main character is used to seeing indifference in Iris, but now she doesn't back down. It was not clear what was behind such persistence. The answer followed immediately. Since they were little, Iris had not left Kiara's side for a single step. That's why Iris's previous detachment disappeared, giving way to an unexpected determination. Since childhood, Kiara was her only friend and Iris was her shadow. And now Dimian's ex-fiancé is saying through someone else's lips that the issue is not yet closed. However, Dimian's choice was always absolutely free, without pressure or calculation of future benefit. Semele is the heart of the continent. She was never asked to do what others were asked to do. Mion could have refused the favorite of the gods, but he chose her in return. Despite the coincidence of their souls, there is no true depth in them. The lack of an heir is proof of this. Or maybe their closeness does not solve Celia's personal problem. The princess is trying to hide her inability to have an heir. These words turned out to be the key that opened the lock of Celia's feelings. In the eye of the storm, she realized how much she needed him. In a moment of absolute emptiness, the girl realized that everything she needed was always nearby. Even if the whole world is against her, the main character will not give up in the fight for his well-being. Forgetting the royal hierarchy would cost anyone too much. Celia has always been indulgent, but not weak. Her strength is not in her title, but in her will. Celia has always been irresistible to any threat. Iris's words got out of control. The Duchess took this step out of desperation. Her friend cannot forget Dimian. Her mania has not disappeared, but has become more destructive. Due to long delays, Kiara's father's patience has run out. She will be forced into marriage. This is not love, but captivity, from which one must escape before it destroys. One cannot indulge in obsession. Iris seemed to be a woman of unbending pride, but she bowed her head for her friend. Kiara's desire to possess Damien became a poison that poisoned her and everyone around her. Kiara was recently reported to be in poor health, but in reality the darkness of madness had consumed her, and she was seeking oblivion in death. Weaknesses cannot be treated at the expense of others. Her madness brings only destruction and chaos. The main character will give her last to see Mion happy. She will become his shield and will not let him harm her. Damien's hand had always protected him from storms. Now it was his turn to be his refuge. For the sake of Dimian's happiness, it is not scary to endure any pain. No matter who stands next to him, Celia must endure it. If the prince revealed the object of his love, it would be the key to relief and freedom. After so many years, fate has caught up with the main character again, threatening to take everything away. The main character loved Celia for so long that he himself no longer remembered when he began to expect her to stop running away from him. Marital quarrels are dangerous but not fatal, and Duke Lionel has a hard time arguing with Iris. When there is a lot of responsibility, there is no time for sadness. In honor of the coming-of-age ceremony of their majesties, a hunt will be held. Coming of age is not just a new chapter for Damien, but for everyone who walks alongside him. Lionel dreamed of finishing it all and enjoying dinner with his wife and son, but they could not move forward because of personal troubles. To avoid any mistake, Damien moved towards her slowly, and now he is forced to freeze in place, waiting to see what happens next. It must have been Mother or the old factions that sowed doubts in Celia, and now she can't dispel them. Suggestion played its role, but not the truth. The main character will change her thoughts. Their destiny was to be together, no matter the circumstances. Dimian knew it, they would find a way to each other. The future in which they were together was predetermined in his mind, and this made him calm in the present. The Crown Prince collected a whole collection of her portraits, striving to capture every moment of her existence. It was Dimian's secret hobby to collect portraits so that he could always have her close by. Each portrait was a step towards understanding her uniqueness, but Celia would have called him a maniac. However, the main character has long since chosen fanaticism over his wife as a hobby. It was she who awakened in Dimian a new, secret personality that took control of his mind and body. When Celia was left all alone in a strange world, she did not stop smiling. Her light captivated the prince in the first second. The princess's soul was full of warmth, which she generously shared with others. And at some point, Dimian wanted all this tenderness to belong only to him. As a child, it was enough for the prince to just be near her, but he quickly became greedy. And with each passing day, this desire grew stronger. It turned Dimian into both a hunter and a prey at the same time. But Celia could get scared and distance herself from him forever. Then he hid his feelings deep in the chambers of his soul. She should be happy. Damian hoped that he would be the one to make her that way. And now that they have both become adults, Dimian wants to give the girl the happiness he has dreamed of for so long. His heart became a real home for Celia, and she spoke so calmly about the concubine. The girl has a rare softness, behind which lies stubbornness. It cannot be broken. If she sets a goal, she will not back down. And if Dimian sits silently, Celia will choose a concubine secretly. This is his last chance at a relationship with Celia, otherwise everything will be lost. Their coming-of-age ceremony is a day that is meant to be special for both of them. A moment of an open heart will be enough for them to become closer than ever. The main character will build his own world for them and will not let anyone else in there. The gods brought them together. It is not for people to separate them. Everything leads to the fact that their story will be happy. Celia had not seen Count Waldorf for a long time. He always admired her beauty even before she herself fully realized it. Each time the captain found a new reason to admire her, Celia was never able to easily brush off his attention. Lord Waldorf was persistent in his admiration. Unable to contain himself, he bent over her hand, aiming for a kiss. Dimian's beauty is like that of the gods, but Count Waldorf never kissed his hand. When the beauty of another woman becomes obvious, one should pretend to be blind. At that moment, the closeness was palpable, like warm breath on the skin. The heroes touched not only with their bodies, but also with their souls. It was as if they were in two worlds. Inside them there was peace, but outside a spark of hostility flared into a flame. Dimian's movements were inexorable and smooth, like those of a predator, as if he was waiting, ready to pounce. But her soft voice immediately dispelled his anger. The queen is not one to be easily offended. For the first time, Celia realized that his gaze was full of tenderness. Only when directed at her with others, he was like a wild animal. There have always been many people between them. After so many years, they will be alone for the first time. Their relationships always took place in the presence of others. Solitude will reveal their true desires. Suddenly, the girl noticed that Mion was looking at her somehow differently, as if he was waiting for something. Since childhood, the main characters shared everything they had and kept nothing for themselves. Then the main character realized that not all of Mion's thoughts were open to her. Both heroes wanted to get rid of secret thoughts and feelings, but they were afraid that it would destroy everything. Each of them kept the secret and waited for its time so that it would become part of their common memory. The color flooded her cheeks, making them burn. Why on this day the main character makes the crown princess blush? His attitude towards her betrayed something sublime. Celia was the queen of his life. The main character rules his heart, and he is happy to be her subject. After the conversation about the concubine, there was a long, drawn-out silence between them, and suddenly Mion declared Celia his. His gaze promised something special, something that only the two of them would share. Dimian got rid of everyone before dawn. This evening would belong only to them. Unspoken feelings were accumulating and could harden inside. This was what Damian feared most of all. Celia was afraid of something else. It seemed that if they changed something, everything around them would collapse. The fear of change became a prison for her feelings, forcing her to live in a world where there was no place for them. There was always something special between the two of them. Celia didn't need to explain anything. It was hunting. The romance immediately crashed on the rocks of reality. Celia had already put on her hunting suit under her dress. There was light shining into the carriage, which meant the girl had forgotten to close the curtains when she changed. Her smile, her eyes, her body. Damian won't let anyone else touch it with their eyes. On a bright morning, when everything looked happy, he realized for the first time that he might already be late with happiness. Along with anxiety came confidence. More than anything in the world, Dimian needed her. Time will prove that the gods created them for unity. There is something predestined in their connection. While the main character was aiming at Celia's heart, her arrow hit the target right on target. At that moment, Dimian realized that you can't just shoot at feelings. You need to know where to aim. When hunting, they are one. Their gazes are fixed on one point. Joy and failure are divided in half. After so many years, Celia was afraid of losing her skills, but today she remembered whose student she was. To think about such a thing. The main character went hunting not for prey, but for peace of mind. Ametrine was an extension of the nature that surrounded them. Every time Celia returned to the forest, she returned home. Since childhood, the smell of the forest and the rustle of leaves brought her peace and tranquility. But Semele took that away too. The new house became a strangling noose around my neck, and it became tighter and tighter every day. Every day Celia begged but was not allowed outside. She felt deprived of air and hope. It seemed as if the cold walls were closing in around her. The heroine was fighting for every breath. Damian felt her soul suffocating in captivity. He became her salvation. The main character took her hand and led her. At first Celia just looked at him. But one day they started training together, and then the main character began to breathe again. With each passing day, her skills became more refined. Her talent became apparent brightly and quickly. Soon Celia was shining. The bow, like the hand, obediently obeyed Celia. It seemed that there was an inseparable connection between them. When the main characters shared the same passion, they spoke the same language. But will it build a bridge between their innermost? After so many years, both heroes compete again. The loser will face a test of desire. Each of them had the character of a winner, but for the first time they were afraid to want too much. The day was drawing to a close, and there was already a chill in the air, foreshadowing their conversation. The main character is afraid to hear something that will change her life forever. It was time to use the magical artifact. With every minute the evening grew colder, as did the heroine's soul. Something had changed in Mayani. The girl thought about him endlessly, or maybe she herself had changed. The fear of loss burned Celia, but only at first. She felt how it filled her and left her with no strength to resist. The main character realized that she cannot lose him. She will pay any price, even the most terrible one. Celia will be there, no matter how painful it is, no matter how hard it is for her. She will stay. Her mind was busy trying to overcome the bad thoughts, and she missed something important. There were no clothes in the chest. It seems the maid got everything mixed up, and instead of getting a change of clothes, she got rid of everything. The first night away from home, the stars in the window, the cozy silence, and Celia has no choice but to walk naked. The slight sway of the crinoline as it moved was mesmerizing, but in reality it was a metal cage, and sleeping in it was torture. The edges of the corset cut into the body, causing pain. The tight lacing squeezes the breath. This torture by fashion is capable of depriving one of consciousness. Suddenly, footsteps were heard in the silence. The knights cleared the perimeter of monsters, which meant that Mion would soon enter. Anticipating the long-awaited conversation, the main character drove everyone away, leaving no one a chance to stop him. The young man must not see Celia like this. It will be the last straw, after which everything will go to hell. If the heroine had taken sewing lessons instead of archery, a cute curtain could have become a lifesaver in her wardrobe right now. Damian looked for the loser with his eyes, and Celia for something to cover her body with. Both heroes were nervous, anticipating the meeting and not knowing what awaited them ahead. There was complete silence in the hunting hut, as if foreshadowing that something was about to happen. This was a crucial conversation, but it was important that they both were prepared for it. Damian knew that. The protagonist's gaze fell on her when he did not expect it. The young man froze, unable to even move. Blinded by her beauty, Damian suddenly realized how important it was for him to be in love with her. Waiting for her closeness was becoming unbearable. He wanted to rush to her, but he understood how fragile everything was. Celia didn't look at Mion, but she felt his gaze. It seemed as if his shirt wanted to touch her. His shirt made her feel warmer than she had on a hot day, and his scent enveloped her tenderly, driving away all her worries. Suddenly, Celia realized that she was frozen in anticipation of his touch. The main character didn't want to embarrass Mayan. She didn't end up in his shirt of her own free will, but he already knew that there was no point in hoping. Suddenly, the main characters froze, hearing that a patrol was looking for the king outside. The changeover time of the patrol nights is a beautiful sight not for their eyes. Now they are gathered here, men, and all their thoughts will be the same before such a disturbing face. At this thought, the young man was ready to give up his armor and put on her crinoline skirt just to hide Celia from greedy eyes. At that moment, the hands of the main characters touched, and it was as close as never before. Both understood that they were standing on the threshold of a new stage in their lives, but not both were ready to cross it. Time seemed to slow down, but the end of the magical moment was near. Celia felt it. The main characters are inevitably approaching a conversation, the outcome of which will determine their future. The girl's nightgown remained in the palace. She had to cover her body with something else. Damien wishes his shirt to be especially soft tonight, so that his queen would be in the clouds. When Damien is near her, the world around her disappears. There is only his queen. In her presence, the main character forgot about an important matter. He was going to take a hot bath after the hunt. And in his absence, Celia should not even think about going for a walk before bed like this. You can turn off the lights. Until the morning, they will have no reason to worry, unless they themselves want to create some. Time made Damien the most important thing in the girl's life. How could she not notice it? Celia didn't see how the boy grew into a beautiful man, and as a child she was taller, which she never forgot to remind him of. And now Damien suddenly became her dream, perfect and unattainable. His smile was what made Celia happy, so she would do anything to make him smile. Feelings appeared in her that were not there before, and with them came fear. What if this changes everything? Celia isn't ready for this, isn't ready to lose Mion. His happiness is the heroine's main goal. She must lock her desires deep in her heart. Suddenly the main character came out into the light, unencumbered by clothes. It took her a titanic effort to tear herself away from him. Such dazzling beauty must be covered by clothes. How dare the one who stole Damien's clothes reproach him for this? As the young man came closer, Celia suddenly experienced something new, something that had not happened before. Suddenly, Celia changed. In her presence, there was an invisible wall that he was unable to overcome. It is important that there is a spark between Mion and the concubine, that there is something special that does not exist in his ordinary life. By her order, other ladies from noble houses will be present at the tournament. One of them will become his concubine. Only with her was Damien so patient. He knew that Celia's love had to be allowed to grow like a flower. Celia sent invitations to ladies whose status was higher than the count's for some reason. Words came with difficulty to her. The main character has to make sure that she does everything right. She can't trust this to anyone else. Mother said that a wise wife does not ask what her husband wants. She knows, but does Celia know? She herself invited other girls for Mion, but now she began to fear that he would agree. The main character kept an imperturbable expression on his face, but there was some sadness in his eyes. Celia pretends not to guess or really doesn't understand anything. The main character does this to ease Mion's difficulties. His happiness is worth any sacrifice. The rest don't matter, only Celia matters. Damien's eyes and ears know no others. The happiness of his queen is what the protagonist values most. But Celia doubted that Mion saw the same depth in the situation and his words that she did. Whatever the girl asks for, Damien will give it to her. He is ready to do everything for Celia. She needs the king at her feet. He will be for Semele to belong to her. He will give up the country. Some people hear what is being said, others hear what is being kept silent about, so why doesn't Celia hear either one or the other? Celia seems unable to understand that Damien does or does not feel the same things as he does. At that moment, Celia's words struck at his hopes, her desire for a new hunting suit. The idol between them, which seemed unshakable, was destroyed. The main character felt it first. Two people who share joy and sorrow create a strong bond, but will it be enough? A secluded evening, a long-awaited conversation. Everything seemed so simple at first. Did Mion really understand what he was talking about to the girl that evening? Inside Celia, there was a struggle between the desire to believe his every word and the fear of the unknown, which paralyzed her will. But suddenly, in the unknown, not dangers, but opportunities would be hidden, and for the first time, Celia did not know what to do. What will happen if Mion finds out the secret she has been hiding in the dark all these years? The moment has been missed or has not yet arrived. This is the question that has puzzled the main character in recent years. After the coronation, Damien was finally able to protect Celia with his own strength and was in the mood to confess. It seemed that nothing could convince the main character, but one conversation turned everything upside down. The hero's determination was killed by a single question: what is love? Ladies experienced in love called falling in love a dizziness that narrows the world to one person. The question hung in the air: did the princess not feel the symptoms of falling in love? The main character understood everything at once. There was no glimmer of love in her eyes. Celia did not know this feeling. The girl's heart remained untouched and did not perceive Damian as a man. And any attempt by the protagonist to fix this will only make things worse. Celia was not yet ready for his feelings. One thing was certain: Mian was ready to wait and not ready to give up. Over time, their relationship will grow closer and they will eventually end up together. It's time for the protagonist to act before Celia brings a concubine to the castle. The sleepless night was immediately betrayed by dark circles under the eyes, which the maids immediately envied. Sleepless nights, heart-to-heart talks, romance, they look at the same thing but see different things. And poisoning her peace, the question was still in the room: what did Mian feel like being paired with her? The presence of a queen should fill the hall with an atmosphere of grandeur and nobility, but today Celia wanted to be a queen only for him. When the heroine felt something, life became harder, but for some reason she wanted to continue feeling. Today, the main character will bear his feelings without fear of consequences. Celia is sensitive like a flower and cannot be scared away by too much light. The queen is so beautiful. Damian has changed his mind about showing her to the world. He wants to hide her from others like a treasure. Cold calculation made Celia the queen of Semele. Could she become personal for Mian over the years? The heroine sees the same young man in front of her, but because of yesterday he sounds different. The closest people can keep the most terrible secrets, and sooner or later Mian will find out everything. It was decided that the coming-of-age ceremony would take place first. No one knew that it would be the beginning of a nightmare. Everything was supposed to proceed as usual. The ceremony was intended only for high-ranking ministers. However, the main character secretly added candidates for concubines to the guest list. The beginning of the holiday was unremarkable, but its end made one shudder. Despite Celia's outward fragility, there was a steel will within her, but not on this day. From the very morning, Celia's heart sank in her chest, as if sensing something bad. But Damian's voice was capable of dispelling any darkness. Celia must give her anxiety to him. Celia is overcome by fatigue of body, not anxiety of mind. But such is the lot of a queen. How well does she cope with it? So perfect that Damian began to worry that he wasn't up to par with her. The main character seemed to be carved from stone, but there was so much tenderness for her hidden in his eyes. And you could drown in Celia's eyes without ever knowing their secret. But suddenly, Mian already knows it. Doubts divide people and can cause them to lose what Celia could have won. At that moment, the heroine realized that she had to free herself from fear at any cost. Could it be that Mian feels the same way as the girl herself? You can't let fear and other people's opinions influence your choice. Celia only cares about how Mian feels. At the moment when the heroine no longer doubted, some stranger interrupted her before she had time to ask that very question. Although Duke Karun Sordians was smiling, his eyes betrayed disdain. Suddenly a shudder ran through her body. She was standing behind the Duke. Celia felt her gaze, even though she couldn't see it. The Duke didn't come to the party to congratulate her. He was there to introduce his daughter. Celia couldn't shake the feeling that Mian's ex-fiancé was watching his every move. Kiara is happy to be back in Semele. Looking at Celia, the girl stretched into a smile full of poison. A weak immune system was a convenient excuse to avoid events, but today Kiara is here. After so many years, the thought of Damian haunted Kiara. The sharp, thorn-like words immediately pricked Celia. It seems that Kiara never let go of her past and could not come to terms with the rejection. It seemed that Kiara's feelings for Mian had grown into an obsession, but her presence was invisible to him. Poor health prevented Kiara from visiting his lordship as often as she would have liked. Only the queen, and no one else, is allowed to see Damian as often as she wishes. With her appearance, Kiara intended to erase the boundary between the past and displace Celia from the present. All this time she felt abandoned and forgotten, and for the main character her existence did not matter. Celia organized the banquet herself, so why would she want to hide Mian from others like treasure? In memory of their union, Kiara chose the finest wine of Tiber, and finally the mistake was made. The main character knew that Mian doesn't drink alcohol. which means he should refuse her gift. However, there was no refusal. At that moment, Celia was overcome with fear. Had she really been wrong all this time? Does the main character remember Kiara as much as she remembers him? Could it be that Mion misses her too but keeps quiet? Perhaps Celia was wrong about his feelings, and they were caused only by her own. Before confronting, the protagonist must decide whether she will harm Mion. Until that day, Celia had not known that her life revolved around him, how one could give the sun to another. Then she decided that she wanted to fight for happiness with him. Celia would drink wine instead of Mion. Kiara's voice shook with anger. Her wine was meant only for the king. Is it right to allow a king to drink something that might hinder him during a hunt? The king likes wine much less. Instead of him suffering, Celia will take it upon herself. Only King Samele knows how to appreciate the wine of Tiber correctly. At that moment, Dimion had the final say. If he didn't say anything, Celia wouldn't be able to stop it. If Mion chooses silence instead of words when he should speak, it will be a betrayal. The main character will always choose Celia, and her choice is an immutable law for him. Kiara had been waiting for this moment for a long time, but when it came, Damien's confidence immediately shattered her. It was a secret agreement between them as a couple. Damien can't stand alcohol, so Celia took on that burden. Miss Sordian's persistence led to the personal secret of their majesties becoming known to everyone. Miss Kiara seems to have a talent for annoying people, and her noble birth does not make up for this deficiency. She should have listened to her queen the first time. The joy of the holiday would not have been marred. The queen's words are an immutable law for Dimion, and so it must be for the heiress of the House of Sortians. The protagonist's voice sounded dry and merciless, leaving no room for objections. And suddenly Celia realized. His indifferent tone left no doubt. For Mion, Kiara did not exist. However, the ex-bride ignored the truth as if it did not exist. A glass of good wine will make up for a hard day. Gritting her teeth, Kiara complied. It seems that despite their blood relationship, father and daughter never became close. The Duke's eyes did not hide his contempt for her. There are too many people for the main character to enjoy her coming of age. There is only one tent left with noble dignitaries. Celia will have to endure the attention of those harmful old men. Beauty is not all that is needed to be a queen, and beautiful flowers do not always bear fruit. Without an heir, the princess of a worthless kingdom is worth nothing. However, the king himself bent down to pick the most beautiful flower in the greenhouse. Damien has already been called the greatest king to ever wear a crown. His name will live on for centuries. But even such a great man trembled before the hem of his wife's skirt. If it had not been for the drought, the divine child would never have received Semele's crown. It is not a concubine that makes a marriage unsuccessful, but failure in marriage that leads to the appearance of a concubine. The union of the crown prince and the heiress of House Sordians would have raised the greatness of Semele, but the former queen intervened. A girl who brings only her beauty as a dowry should not marry a nobleman. Dimion is like the gods. He keeps tenderness in his heart only for her. It turns out that Celia is truly the favorite of the gods. The main character heard this hundreds of times and was powerless to change anything. The queen's face speaks volumes about how long Damien had been standing behind her. It seems that Mion did not hear the nasty words of the nobles. Otherwise, the old people would have already been carried out of the tent in sacks. Damien knows her better than anyone, and by hiding her feelings, Celia creates a wall between them. So the old men were bothering Celia again and talking nonsense. There were just a few bags in the backyard. A wise king's decisions are dictated by concern for the welfare of the people, not the queen. The main character had long been thinking about choosing tyranny as a hobby. Behind Mion's outward inaccessibility lies a sensitive soul and a kind heart. Celia knows this more than anyone. The main character knows that Mion is there even if she can't see him, and he is always on her side. The queen must not leave Damien alone on the hunt. They will go together. The main character's eyes showed concern for her. He was looking for a way to help her, and Celia knew it. The crown obliges one to take care of the well-being of one's subjects. Celia will not give those old men a reason to prick herself. Again, Celia forgot that Dimion has no limits to his abilities. He can do absolutely everything for her. There was a fire burning in his eyes, and he was Celia's only refuge from the cold and loneliness. His words dispelled all fears and gave warmth. Soon they would see each other on the Western Plain. The protagonist has a feeling that this conversation will change them. Celia felt it too. This conversation was very important for their future. At this moment, both main characters stood on the threshold, one foot in desire, the other in fear. Whether this is related to Mion's feelings, it is important for the main character to understand what is inside him. Hunting and communicating with the nobles will take at least 3 hours. Celia will go crazy with impatience. Couldn't Mion see how she was suffering? Her curiosity had already suppressed all other thoughts. Damien was sure that his queen would say so. Celia had been impatient since childhood. The main character has not let go of her curiosity. She is simply dying from the desire to find out. There was an unbearable itch in her head. For the safety of this world, Mion must not tease her patience. Since Damien knows that his queen will come, he can wait for her as long as he wants. It's time for the king to begin the hunting season, but his thoughts will remain with Celia. At that moment, both main characters understood that the wait was worth it when something special awaited them at the end. Having shown measured tenderness, the main character disappeared, teasing her feelings even more. The fanfare sounded, but Celia could no longer hear anything. This conversation could change their lives forever. Will the girl have enough courage to listen to the truth, whatever it may be? Is the main character ready for the fact that reality may differ from her ideas? This evening is capable of depriving her of her loved one and causing unbearable pain, but there is no way back. Fear pushed Celia forward. She understood that this was her chance. The girl can't think of anything else. Mion will answer for this torture. Coming-of-age day was supposed to bring something new and special, even though it didn't go according to plan. Among the happy faces, 2 people stood out who seemed not to notice what was happening. Iris and Kiara's relationship had changed, and now there was hostility and mistrust in their eyes. One thing was clear. Something happened between the old friends, and it changed them. Until recently, Iris was devoted to Kiara, but not now. There was a smell of anxiety in the air. Iris doesn't often show up to events. Apparently she's here today because of Kiara. Could it be that the former bride came to Semele for the king's heart, which she was never able to obtain? The queen should be careful. Things have never been so simple with this girl. Lady Sorchens has returned for only one reason. She is confident that she will become the king's concubine. Kiara's obsession with Damien began in childhood, and she stalked the late king until he agreed to betrothal to his son. It seemed that after the breakup of the engagement, the girl lost her mind, so her father took her away from Semele and hid her from prying eyes. And now the possessed girl has returned to remind us of herself. Her return foretells only trouble. It is impossible to correct an embittered person. He can only change his appearance, but not his nature. The main character feels that Kiara is hiding darkness within herself, but she cannot find any reason for it yet. And where does Kiara get this unshakable confidence that she will take her place next to the king? However, now was not the time to think about Damien's past. She should only worry about the future. Suddenly, the main character was overcome with anxiety. Someone was sneaking up on her like a predator. Celia couldn't shake the feeling that she was trapped. Mion wouldn't approach her from behind. The past and the present met, and both girls wanted a future with him. The protagonist had a strong feeling that Duke Sorchians was deliberately stalling for time. The rest of the participants were focused only on the hunt, hoping to catch up with Damien, but not the Duke. The head of House Sortians followed him like a shadow, as if the main target of his hunt was Damien. They had nothing in common except occasional meetings, but the Duke constantly insisted on getting closer. People like the Duke weren't meant to be close. Damien knew that. This time Kiara assured that the king would be at her feet, but it was obvious to the Duke that she was nothing to Damien. This is Kiara's last desperate attempt to see if she will be the cause of the collapse of the royal family. The opportunity had been waiting for Kiara for a long time. Celia shouldn't have thought that everything would end like this. The broken engagement left the ex-fiancé without peace and at the same time increased her thirst even more. Even though Kiara left Semele for a long time, she never let the crown prince out of her sight. Damien belongs to Kiara. Celia has taken a lot of their time. It's time for her to fix that. One thing was clear. Kiara was obsessed with fantasies about the impossible, and the lonely voice of reason had long been lost in her darkness. Is Kiara really asking for so much? If it weren't for the god's favorite, the place next to the king would be hers. You can't beg for something that is given only by free will, love, and happiness. Create it. Damien never chose this girl. He didn't even notice that Kiara left the palace. And upon his return, Kiara's existence still meant nothing to Damien. This became obvious at the banquet. The possessed girl will achieve nothing. She should not have returned to Semele. Such people should not be near Mion. It seems that illusions do not spare her at all and obscure reality, not allowing her to see what is happening. Out of respect for the ancient Sordian's house, Celia will keep this conversation a secret from Mion. Celia doesn't seem to understand that Kiara is here to get Damien at any cost. She's been waiting for this for a long time. She's had plenty of time to plan everything. Celia doesn't know it yet, but she's already doomed. Kiara's gaze was icy, her smile predatory, her eyes blazing with madness, foreshadowing a storm. At that moment, the main character felt an invisible but tangible danger. Suddenly, a knife appeared in Kiara's hands, madness and a bladed weapon. A bad combination. The girl arranged everything so that Celia would be deprived of a choice. Very soon, rumors will spread throughout Semele that the queen tried to harm Kiara out of jealousy. Such a pathetic attempt ended in death. Up until this point, Celia had shown generosity. Seeing the cuts on Kiara's body, the old factions will definitely take her side. The scandal will serve as a pretext to get rid of the princess of a seedy state. Fear crept into her soul, but it brought with it determination. Celia would protect Mion at all costs. Envy has been eating away at Kiara like an ulcer for years, and now it's dangerous. The soul of this girl is like a crypt, devoid of light and life. She will never have enough. Everything that falls into her swamp will rot. Even Semele's crown will not bring her life. Why the hell is Celia so strong? Was the queen raised by ninjas or something? There was only envy splashing in Kiara's eyes, but something seemed strange to the main character. Despite the enemy's apparent fragility, a premonition of trouble began to hang in the air. The main character was approaching slowly and inevitably. The choice of a concubine was her decision, not the king's. Celia's words hit the girl in the face with a loud slap, but she did not retreat. Since childhood, Kiara was obsessed with the idea of marrying the crown prince and would only calm down once she had accomplished it. The desire to become his queen consumed her thoughts. Leaving no room for another life, Kiara paid them dearly for this opportunity. Celia turned out to be surprisingly strong. Fortunately, Kiara did not come to the forest alone. She has company. A blood-curdling roar came from the thicket. Their guest didn't look like a golden retriever at all. The main character's heavy premonition turned out to be correct. The guards were too far away and would not be able to save them in time. Such a dangerous monster could not have appeared in Semele's hunting grounds on its own. There must be someone's intent behind it. All the monsters are selected for the competition in advance, and the territory is cleared. This is a planned assassination attempt. The main character froze in place, realizing that her fate would now be decided. The Groven's saliva is deadly poisonous. It burns through everything it touches. Every next move Celia makes is life. The monster moves at incredible speed. The banquet hall will be flooded with rivers of blood if it is not stopped. Once Mayan told me how to defeat Groven, there are only two ways: cut off the monster's head or cut off his tongue. In the moment of mortal threat, Celia's thoughts increasingly returned to him. Mion became her strength. Celia told Kiara to leave immediately and send the royal knights here to help. It seemed like the danger was coming from the front, but in fact it was from behind. It seemed Celia had twisted her ankle. The trap has been sprung. Kiara is about to take Semele's love away from the queen. Having been deprived of her dream, Kiara realized that everything one person has can be taken away by another. With every step, the monster came closer and closer, cutting off the path of retreat. The situation is not at all as the queen sees it. The only thing that is dangerous here is her. A deadly monster, a dense forest, and no one around. How could the situation be worse? Fate immediately gave a short answer. All this time, the will of the bloodthirsty beast was controlled by Kiara. 12 colorless and depressing years passed. Kiara had plenty of time to plan everything. However, Celia amazed her with her courage and strength, but she cannot lead anyone forever. With a sprained ankle, it will be difficult for even her to escape from Groven. Celia will die on the day of her coming of age. The beloved of the gods fell upon Semele suddenly, and just as suddenly she will leave them. At that moment, Celia realized that she was not afraid of death at all, but of the fact that she had never begun to live. Celia accepts her fate, but does not give in to it no matter what. She cannot lose Mayan. Obeying the order, Groven began to push Celia towards the center, intending to drive her into a corner. And if the heroine had delayed even for a second, not only her clothes would have melted, but her body as well. Celia instinctively pulled her hand back. The main thing now was to protect her ring at any cost. Why waste time? The queen must stop her senseless resistance and die. Kiara's position will quickly compensate for Celia's death. She will take her place and give birth to an heir for Dimion. At that moment, the main character realized that she wanted to make Myon happy more than anything, and from now on, that was her main goal. It seemed that life was about to end, when suddenly the image of the main character appeared in Celia's mind. Whenever things got tough for the girl, she always remembered what she started it all for. Myon never got tired. He could practice the same exercises for hours. No matter how painful and difficult it was for the main character, he always continued. For Dimion, strength was in overcoming oneself. He always said that Celia was also stronger than her weakness. After grueling training, the young man spent all his free time taking care of her. Wasn't it hard? Celia knew he was struggling with something and it was causing her pain. Why does Myon not spare himself? He is like an inexorable machine working to achieve some goal. Then the main character didn't think for a second about the answer. He wants to protect Celia from everything. Damien couldn't accept that the world that had brought her so much pain would remain the same. The young man wanted Celia to never feel helpless and alone again, and Dimion succeeded. His defense became the most reliable shield for Celia. On the day the princess appeared in his palace, Damien decided to become stronger than everyone else. Then Celia decided to become an invisible shield for him and take away all of Mion's pain. Celia can't die here. She has to save Myon from harm, otherwise everything will go according to the crazy Kiara's plan. Just as her life was under his watchful guard, it was Celia's turn. The main character's face was calm, but determination shone in her eyes. Does the queen really expect to defeat Groven with a pathetic excuse for a sword? Celia shouldn't have come to Semele. Maybe then she would have lived to old age. At that moment, both girls were thinking about the main character, but they saw different things. They released Kiara's hand, placing the weapon in it, and a terrible guess pierced Celia. Kiara only serves someone else's purpose, and the puppeteers guide her hand, giving her power. It's time to find out if Celia is truly the god's favorite. Myon told her not to close her eyes. Celia felt his reliable hands on hers again. Myon placed the blade in her right palm. The weapon must be aimed directly at the enemy. Celia will only have one attempt into which she must put all her will. His queen must remember everything Myon taught her and must not hesitate for a second. The image of the main character gave Celia a feeling of security and strength. His eyes expressed confidence in her abilities, which gave her the courage to act. Lunge forward, shift weight to right leg, one precise strike that will decide Celia's fate. Today, fate was against the favorite of the gods, but Celia won. In the end, the girl who was considered weak and fragile defeated the terrible monster and became a heroine. The future queen stood up for her people bravely. Could Semele have wished for more? This can't be. Celia managed to win by beating Kiara at her own game. Suddenly the heroine noticed something terrible. She was careless and hurt her hand. Her cut was literally burning. This could mean only one thing. Groven's poison entered her body through the wound, and in the next few minutes she would experience hallucinations, convulsions, and paralysis. After all, they said that the queen only had a bow, and suddenly Celia was pierced by a shudder of guess. This information is a secret, accessible only to a small circle of people. Kiara immediately caught herself and covered her mouth with her hand. Only the knights close to the royal family know about this. It won't be possible to place all the blame on Iris. The court aristocracy is about to arrive. Kiara will simply stick to the original plan. Whose word will be in the interests of the nobility? The influential house of Sorcience or a foreigner from the seedy Ametrine? It would have been better if Celia had died in the forest in terrible agony, but she would still have a chance. They ordered Kiara to leave no trace behind and to get rid of the tools. One thing is certain, someone from the very top of the palace nobility wants to kill the main character. The art of a puppeteer is to make the viewer forget about the strings, and if it weren't for Kiara's long tongue, he would have succeeded. Kiara fanatically croaked a spell. The monster's corpse exploded at the same second. Due to the adrenaline, the poison spreads through the body faster than expected, and Celia loses control. A moment later, an inhuman scream fell upon the hunting grounds. What exactly was happening? The game has begun. Jealousy, cold weapons, a crowd of greedy old men who see only their own benefit. Today, everything will change for Samela. Kiara will make sure that Celia does not enter her history. Everything will end as Kiara said, the favorite of the gods lost as soon as she entered the forest. An excited murmur instantly swept through the crowd. Lady Sorcience was wounded. Her Majesty attacked her out of jealousy. It would seem that the main character has won the victory, but in fact, she won the battle, losing the war. Even if Celia tells the truth without evidence, her words mean nothing. With a bloody knife in the queen's hand and Dimian's ex-fiancé lying at her feet, the puppeteer left nothing to chance. In one day, Celia became Samele's queen, and in one day she will no longer be her queen. Kiara begged her for mercy, her lies sounding more and more convincing, and the bliss did not disappear from her face. The heiress of House Sortias only served Semele and her people, for which the queen treated her like this. Not a single nobleman sided with Celia, but things would have turned out differently if she had had an heir. The main character could hardly stand on her feet due to the effects of the poison. She had no strength left to tell the truth. How could the queen try to kill her concubine out of some jealousy? Semele's future cannot be trusted to such an impulsive and reckless woman. You can't blame the queen, she comes from a small country. How can she help the mighty Semele? If her ladyship doesn't even try to defend her honor, then she is definitely guilty. Suddenly, one thunderous voice broke the crowd's sentence. Iris can't listen to it anymore. Doesn't anyone see that the queen herself is wounded and Kiara is barely holding back a smile? So who is the victim here? Didn't Iris hear what Kiara said? The queen attacked her and tried to kill her. The Duchess was once blind too, but the time has come for her to answer for her mistakes. A member of the royal family has been harmed, and it cannot be settled with mere words. At the fatal moment when Iris's voice was an irrevocable sentence, she chose Celia instead of her friend, but why? Right now, a puppeteer can be seen watching Celia from the crowd, but her vision is becoming blurry. Why did Iris suddenly take Celia's side, and how many times can she change her choice? Groven was here. Celia's words immediately raised the level of riot to the limit, because the monster's body was never found. The one who targets Celia holds all the strings in his hands. The puppeteer is patient and controlling. It would be safer to hide the fact that the monster's will was subordinated to Kiara. Now no one would believe it. Kiara tried to ignite a new spark of riot, but it was all in vain. Following Iris, the audience was already listening to every word of the queen. It seemed that Lady Sorcience had a fit from shock. The heroine's main goal is the puppeteer. The thread connecting him with the puppet cannot be missed. Having regained her badly damaged reputation, Celia realized with horror that she had never been safe. Once again, the life of the main character depends on a few seconds. Kiara was struck by the unbearable realization that she had lost again. The poor thing has completely lost her mind. Kiara is getting worse. The knights will take care of her. Celia has no idea how much danger she is in when playing queen on the chessboard. Iris was always far away, but at the fateful moment she was nearby, she knows everything. Had the enemy really become a friend, Iris wanted to ask for forgiveness, even though it was too late. The blood ran cold when the main character realized that she could no longer move. A cold shiver, blurry shadows, Celia plunged into darkness. Was this the end? The queen only needs to hold out for a little while. This nightmare will soon be over. Iris is sure that everything will be fine with Celia, but how wrong she was. My head was in a fog when the main character woke up. It seems that Celia is still loved by the gods. Along with her memory, the girl's fear returned. The true villain was still nearby. When Mayan managed to return from the tournament, Celia lost her clarity of thought. The tournament had long since ended. What was going on? Celia must have had a terrible dream. The cold of death slid across her skin. It was not a dream. The main character turned around and saw that something terrible had happened. This noble lady would become Damien's concubine. Celia's heart immediately began to ache unbearably. Why the sight of another girl next to him was so unbearable to her, Celia understood everything in that moment. Isn't this what the queen wanted? Why does she look at the concubine with surprise in her eyes? It seems the main character realized too late that she didn't need it. The connection between the main characters has been tested by time and trials. Is this the end? Mion has to understand. Wasn't Celia forced to do this for him? The queen was only thinking about herself when she offered him a concubine. Wasn't Mion right? Celia only says that it was for the boy, but did she ever ask his opinion? Damien is right. The girl was just a coward all this time, who was trying to avoid changes in their relationship. The protagonist made Celia's happiness his goal but never felt that she needed it. Where Mion was going, Celia shouted after him and begged him not to leave, but it was too late. For the first time, his voice sounded so low, even and without any intonation, pushing Celia further and further away. It turned out that their connection was like crystal. It was so easy to destroy. What happened seems impossible. It was just a bad dream, and it's over. An assassination attempt, a conspiracy, the image of Mion evokes a shudder of awe. In the life of the main character, everything is back in its place. On the day of her coming of age, Celia experienced everything: fear, pain, the whisper of death, the trembling of the heart, the illumination of the soul. The main character did not want to admit her feelings for a long time, but in the end she understood. Her Majesty has finally come to her senses. This is good news for all of Semele. An unfamiliar room, the smell of patchouli, the sun in the east, where they are. This is the residence of the Duchy of Hyde. The king cancelled all further events and left the soldiers in the hunting grounds to conduct an investigation. The poison had already spread throughout the queen's body, so she was urgently taken to the Highlands. The culprit was taken under guard to the guest room under the pretext of rest. Thanks to the measures taken, the queen was safe, but Celia knew that this was not the case. Iris should have asked Celia for forgiveness a long time ago. She understands that it will not fix the past. All this time, Celia was distinguished by her special kindness, and Iris's attitude towards her was imbued with disdain. It was Celia who found a cure on another continent when the Hydes' son became seriously ill, and it was the queen who invested her personal funds when Iris's husband's business was under threat. Iris had no experience with friendship and was an easy target for Kiara, willing to oblige her every request. When Kiara left Semele due to the engagement being called off, she stopped responding to Iris's letters. Iris blamed herself for this and believed that she should not approach Celia out of loyalty to her friend. One day she returned like a bolt from the blue and wrote Iris a frightening letter. Kiara returned to collect her things. She heard rumors about the choice of a concubine for Damien, and she demanded Iris's help. Upon arrival, Kiara was possessed, trying to force Iris to bring Celia to a secluded place. The Duchess felt that something was wrong. At that moment, she began to see the truth and stopped deceiving herself. Iris wanted to stop her, but she didn't have time. Kiara had already disappeared with dark thoughts. It became clear that Kiara's appearance foreshadowed imminent trouble. Then Iris noticed how she was watching Celia with a dagger in her hand. She couldn't believe that she had been so wrong all this time and had been faithful to her. While Iris was looking for her brother to report the assassination attempt, Kiara's plan had already happened. Iris's selfish desire for a friend prevented her from focusing on the truth. It must have taken a lot of effort for Iris to tear the man she was so loyal to out of her soul. The Duchess fought, made the right decision at the most important moment, and came out of the shadows. Iris's heart was finally free, and from now on she would like to let people like Celia into it. All this time Celia wanted to be friends with Iris so much. Is this really happening? They were looking forward to joint trips to boutiques, discussions of their husbands' funny habits, and maybe even matching pendants. Celia tried so hard not to give up, tried so hard to gain Iris's trust. All this time, the Duchess could not even think that now she began to feel even worse. It all happened in an instant. Both girls realized that nothing would ever be the same again. After that nightmare, Celia will no longer hide her feelings. Iris is a reliable person. Celia is lucky. Light can be found even in dark times. In the darkness, bright people are clearly visible, but it is much more important to find those who are hiding in the shadows. The main character must protect the people dear to her heart from the coming chaos at any cost. Celia asked Iris for only one thing: she should not hide her feelings any longer. The habit of not showing one's feelings could have deprived both girls of what was most precious to them. After talking about her true feelings, Celia suddenly realized that she missed Mion especially much. As if reading her thoughts, the protagonist immediately appeared at her door. He heard that Celia had regained consciousness. Damien immediately noticed that both girls' eyes were swollen. It was all because of allergies. Iris suddenly missed her husband as she looked at her brother and Celia. Sister Damien and Celia smiled at each other just now. I would like to know what is going on here. This is the beginning of something wonderful. Celia is looking forward to what it will bring her. Everything between them has improved, and Mion will become their main topic of gossip. Let them quarrel again. But in reality, Mion is exactly what the main character needed most. Now the hero will hold Celia with all his might, because he is afraid that if he lets go, he will lose her. The sister told him everything. The maddened girl's goal was to take the queen's place. During the greeting, Damien didn't remember her right away, so he couldn't even imagine that there was a threat hidden in her. If the head of the Sorcian's house had not detained Damien while hunting, he would have arrived in time and Celia would not have been harmed. His queen was left without protection, Mion was unable to prevent the disaster, and the entire burden of blame lies solely with Kiara. Celia defeated Groven with just her blade and her spirit. This story needs to be told to the bards, the songwriters. Mion gave her faith in herself, became a source of strength. With him, she feels that she is capable of anything. Something continues to worry. Before the start of the hunt, the knights checked everything. There were no traces of monsters. Kiara was the master of Groven's will, but she is an ordinary human, devoid of magical powers. But they have a more serious reason to worry. Kiara knew that Celia only had a bow, and this means only one thing among those whom the main characters trusted: there is a traitor. It seemed the plan was to destroy Celia in Semile's eyes, not kill her. But as soon as Kiara smelled blood, she went into a frenzy and couldn't stop. There is an invisible hand behind all these events, and this hand belongs to someone from the very top of the aristocracy. Damien will find out who knows about her fighting skills and how magic fell into the hands of a madwoman. While the puppet string still reaches out to its puppeteer, it is necessary to find out whose dark will it was carrying out. The main character can't just wait for everything to be resolved. She has to help Mayan. Celia feels that her body has been restored, her mind has been healed, she is ready to return. His queen always pretends that everything is fine with her, while neglecting herself. Even if his queen's body had fully recovered, her heart certainly couldn't be okay. Celia expects too much from herself. She should at least rely on her husband sometimes. The main character has always considered Mion her fortress, so now, more than ever, she wants to be his refuge. Finally, Celia is ready for a change and wants to shout it out to the world, but they are interrupted again. The food is served. After a difficult period, the main character always found solace in food. Why are the others' plates so empty? Because his queen took all the provisions. No matter what happens in Celia's life, Mion always gives her a sense of calm and serenity. His sister also inherited this trait, and there was a calming atmosphere in Iris's presence. It seems like they could become real friends. Maybe the Duchess wants to drink some wine. Nothing brings two women together like hard everyday life, good wine and a common enemy. The Duchess refused with a guilty look. Apparently it was too early for a joint drink. The refusal was followed by a wonderful reason: the couple is expecting the birth of their second child. The best end to the day the main character could have hoped for. Celia immediately asked the staff to bring them 2 glasses of the best wine and 2 glasses of peach juice. Didn't the queen want to taste this year's harvest? The work of the winemakers and the generosity of nature merged in this wine. The girl asked to bring juice for Mion. He doesn't like to drink alcohol, so Celia usually drinks for 2 at banquets. Brother Iris could tell the maturity of a wine by its smell alone. Something was wrong here. The Hydes wish everyone that this year will be as velvety and generous as this wine. It's time to raise a glass to little Hyde, who will receive wisdom and devotion from his parents in the future. The queen has indeed proven that she has many years of experience in the dining room. By the time Celia had managed to drag the bottle along with her, it seemed as if she had long since fallen into a peaceful sleep. Iris is still haunted by one question: why does her brother tell his wife that he doesn't drink alcohol? In her memory, Damien could identify every component of wine, and he always compared his favorite type of wine to a warm autumn. So why does the young man deceive his wife? Damien never lied to Celia. It would be better if Iris just forgot about this conversation. She still wouldn't understand why Damien was doing this. Today, the main character needed it. Even if only for a while, she managed to let go of all the difficulties of the last few days. Why does Iris feel like a hungry predator is dragging a herbivore into its lair? As soon as Celia woke up, she was immediately overcome with longing for Mion. The girl missed him so much that it turned out that Celia had only slept for a couple of minutes. Instead of the queen, a bottle of this year's red wine and unresolved feelings spoke. May her next sleep be peaceful and bring peace to her heart. Celia tried to remain calm after the assassination attempt, but there was a note of alarm in her voice. For the protagonist after Celia, reading was the best remedy against troubles. As a child, Mion would often read to her before bed, sending her to another world for healing and inspiration. Celia didn't sleep for long. The young man only managed to read a couple of chapters. Recent events have helped her understand herself and others, and all her decisions have changed. Mion needs to know how valuable he and their relationship are. Celia owes him an apology. She was going to force him to take a concubine without even asking about his feelings. More than anything, Celia fears losing Mion. She didn't have enough strength to support him. That's why the girl thought that she needed someone who could strengthen his position. Even if this decision made Celia's situation worse, she would do everything to make Mion happy. The desire not to lose Mion almost destroyed them both. She is so sorry, but Celia is not to blame. After so many years, the long-awaited confession escaped the hero's lips. He had always loved Celia. At that moment, the world around froze. Celia's heart soared to the sky. This was not a dream. And it's not a brotherly feeling at all. When he sees Celia, he wants to touch her. Mion has a hard time looking away from her lips and restrains himself from kissing them. He doesn't want to think about anyone but his queen. But what about his ex-fiancée? Only with Celia did the hero find what he was looking for. She is his only choice. So all this time Celia was wrong. She almost ruined their relationship, not Kiara. Celia's soul is the only one the protagonist wants to know, and this is unshakable. But they have been together since childhood. How can Mion be sure of his feelings? What if he is wrong? What if they become lovers and then realize it was all an illusion? And the worst thing is that after such a mistake, the heroes will become distant from each other forever. This will not happen. Celia will see for herself. Her time has not yet come. At that moment, the main character decided that they would do it. A look that wouldn't go away. Words that sounded different from what Celia had in mind. Maybe people are telling the truth. All truth is in wine. That's what the port sailors say in the tavern. Alcohol releases secret feelings and thoughts. All they have to do is wait. When I was a kid, my teacher told me that when you like someone, you get butterflies inside. The pupils dilate. The scent of this person becomes the most cherished in the crowd. Even without wine, the protagonist knows that his heart is filled with love. Everything seems so unimportant in comparison to it. Suddenly, Celia realized she was having a hard time keeping herself from touching him. His queen's actions are determined by alcohol. They should stop before it's too late. And what did Celia pour into herself if she was completely taken over by just one glass? The label of the continent's most alcoholic wine explained why Celia couldn't handle it. Mion is like the finest wine. Its beauty only blossoms with age. The young man had been exceptional since childhood, and now Celia understands that she had always felt this. There's something about Mione that can't be explained in words, but it makes him special to her. When a lover touches that very person, his mark remains on his palm. A person in love sleeps worse. His reality turns out to be better than any dreams. The smell of a loved one becomes the most familiar. It cannot be confused with anything else. For Damien, his feelings were completely obvious. He was just waiting for Celia. His heart will gradually move closer to the queen until she is ready. The obsession has haunted Kiara for over 12 years, and it won't end that easily. Celia drives the girl crazy. She must die. The queen was consumed with jealousy. She tried to kill Kiara. Didn't the Sorcians deserve to be trusted? How can his lordship allow such a woman to be near him? In Kiara's eyes, Damien saw that her soul was rotten. She was not even worthy of speaking the name of Celia. Years spent in vice had done their job. Only anger and emptiness remained in her. Kiara is only alive thanks to the queen's mercy. Damien would have already thrown her body into the ditch to rot. How dare Damien admire her? How dare he call the thief his queen? Celia took everything that Kiara considered hers. She must die, die, die. The thief must pay, they promised. Celia's nightmare is just beginning. The main character never slept a wink. He carefully guarded Celia's sleep. The shadow of evil was closer than he expected, and Damien must protect Celia at any cost. Now the palace is more dangerous for the girl than ever. It seemed that the puppeteer was in the shadows, but in fact he was pulling the strings in plain sight. The greedy aristocrats and the heiress of the House of Sorcians are merely his expendable material. But even in dark times, there is light to be found, and Damien feels like they are moving on. The main characters can finally be honest with each other and with their feelings. A new chapter in their history is opening. But what will it bring them? Last night, the hero's heart found peace. He knew that Celia had feelings for him. Damien no longer doubted that they would find their happiness together. True, so far Damien has not been lucky enough to hear that very answer. However, for the moment, this was enough for the main character. The pleasant anticipation was interrupted by Duke Hyde when trouble knocked on the palace threshold again. Anxiety should not touch her sleep. It will be better to hear about the bad outside. When the knights checked the guest room in the morning, they discovered that Lady Sorcience had escaped. Celia woke up with a smile on her face to find herself lying alone in bed. But maybe it's for the best. Because of last night, she felt awkward in front of Mian. Due to Kiara's disappearance, an emergency meeting was held, and Damien immediately rushed to the palace. The girl possessed by Celia is now freely walking the same streets as she is. Could the news be worse? They should have been more careful. Kiara had pulled off some kind of magic trick again, otherwise she wouldn't have gotten out. Even though Kiara escaped from custody, sooner or later she will definitely return. The main character must be prepared for the next meeting with the one who wants to kill her. Madame Elvira's boutique released a new collection. It became obvious that Iris was trying to distract them from what was happening. Danger still follows Celia closely, but today they will have a rest from it. A bakery with wonderful desserts will be waiting for them, where this magnificent woman has been all this time. Iris tried so hard to be supportive. Even though she was worried herself, Celia would respond in kind. After Kiara's escape, her father was immediately placed under house arrest. The Duke insisted that he did not know where his daughter was. However, it cannot be ruled out that the villain will return to her native estate, where everything is familiar to her. All escape routes are cut off. Kiara will be driven into a corner. She will have nowhere to hide. All those possibly involved in the information leak are being interrogated, and in parallel, a search is underway for magical instruments of the summoning type. We need to find out who Duke Sorcience and his daughter contacted upon their return to Semele. After the butler's words, the air seemed to shrink before a thunderstorm. A message came from the Magic Tower. Why would the Magic Tower be the first to send a letter to the king? There were no major problems for a long time, but now the mana on the continent has become unstable. Therefore, the tower plans to open magical artifact shops throughout the country and secretly hold an entrance exam there. The Magic Tower obeys only its owner and is not dependent on any state. The conveniences brought by magic have already become vital. Therefore, no nation on the continent is able to give up magical artifacts. All powers dream of an advantage in magic. They want to get a high-ranking magician. Their abilities range from weather control to large-scale spells. The tower has long since won over ordinary people, so why conduct a secret selection? This can only mean one thing. One of the high-ranking mages was expelled from the tower. The mana instability must have been caused by the reduction in the number of mages maintaining the tower. The main character is very worried that the imbalance has occurred right now. Both men thought about the same thing, or rather about the same thing. Kiara was somehow connected with the expulsion of the magician. But doesn't everyone who has a connection to the tower eventually fall under its control? Then it will be impossible to arrest Kiara. She is just a puppet into whose hands the cursed artifacts were placed. But if Kiara serves the Dark Mage in exile, the tower will hunt her too. Semele receives magical artifacts in exchange for not hindering the recruitment of magicians from the people. If the tower had already taken Kiara, it would have contacted the king and explained the reason. For hundreds of years, even the royal family had no right to interfere in the affairs of the Magic Tower. However, if Kiara is involved with the tower, the protagonist will leave only scorched earth in its place. Damien was a fearless warrior when her name was called. There was no stopping him. An intrepid spirit, a heart full of courage. Whoever his enemy may be, he will be defeated. It had always been like this. Outwardly, Damien was as cold as he was inside, towards everything, except her. Everyone knew that the great and terrible king showed his humanity only to the queen. We need to study everyone who left the palace over the past 10 years and find Kiara before the tower. The protagonist will force the true puppeteer to come out of the shadows and beg for death. Wonderful weather, a true friend, the smell of sweet pastries. The day was simply made for joy. As if there had been no terrible storm, Celia will keep the memories of him in her heart. A leisurely stroll through the streets is the best way to get to know each other better. The main character suggests to Iris that such forays become their secret tradition. Walking together, both girls built a bridge between their hearts, which each of them needed so much. Iris heard from her brother about the sudden opening of a new shop of magical artifacts. In the magic shop, reality is distorted and the laws of the world do not apply. It's all very strange. Why would a store of magical artifacts suddenly open right on the market? The magic tower is too prestigious to open a branch among ordinary merchants. There was a sense of mystery and anticipation, of something unusual in the air. Celia could use a talisman. It seems that the main character has already found the most faithful amulet. It's a gun, isn't it? However, in such a place, even the most ordinary objects have the most unexpected properties. The revolver looked so elegant that it was impossible to take your eyes off it. It was as beautiful as it was dangerous. Instead of bullets, it uses magical mana. An ordinary person cannot use it. The main character wanted to hold the most beautiful conveyor belt of death in her hands. Since her ladyship does not have magical powers, she cannot harm anyone. The gun is enchanted to change size at will, but without mana, the gun is just a pretty dummy. A magic shop should definitely have something for non-magical people. Wasting crown money on a useless item is a waste. The main character should leave the shop quickly. Fresh baked goods will help her feel better. However, Iris had a different proposal. She wants this day to be memorable for both of them. The Duchess is bad at expressing her feelings. Buying Celia a revolver will say it all for her. Even the most useless gift can become the most precious if made with love. But this item is classified as a weapon, so according to the rules of the Magic Tower, it must be registered. The buyer must enter his name, and if the owner's name does not match the registered one, the tower will take the item away. The main character feels awkward accepting such an expensive gift. It's too much. Iris would like their friendship story to begin from this day forward. The most rewarding experience is to make the right choice in time, and both girls did not fail. The main character will sleep hugging her gift. Mion will be jealous. From now on, Iris should not listen to those who make her doubt. She is a wonderful friend and has no right to think otherwise. Everything happens at the right moment. Just when Celia was desperate, Iris came. Feelings can truly heal the soul, and strength blossomed within the main character once again. Damien forbade his confidants to leave the castle while they investigated what Duke Hyde was doing there. Lionel couldn't wait to meet his wife, so he finished his business early and rushed to them. Iris is sure that her husband has forgotten to rest again. Celia can't tear herself away from them. The couple is like something out of a romantic novel. After the assassination attempt on Celia, the king's anger reached its peak. The atmosphere in the castle was eerie. Unfortunately, nothing is happening to indicate progress in the investigation. His Majesty ordered all his subjects to gain strength, but he himself completely forgot about sleep. The main character won't let Mion go through this alone. In difficult times, Celia must be a support and a source of strength, as he always did. It's time for the main character to return, to continue their story. For some reason, this return became special for the girl. Instead of thinking about the danger, all her thoughts constantly returned to Mion. Celia also noticed that she was taking an unusually long time to wash and tidy herself up. The main character was looking forward to their meeting, but at the same time, she was very nervous. Mion had probably fallen asleep long ago. Celia had been fiddling around in front of the mirror for several hours. Celia would be glad if the young man managed to rest in recent days. He had not spared himself at all. In the silence of their room, the heroine always felt peace. Finally, she was home. Celia crept cautiously towards the bed. It seemed that Mion's sleep was as calm and serene as in a cradle. Suddenly, a strong hand fell on the girl's waist, and Celia immediately shuddered. The main character felt so lonely without his queen. Away from Celia, Damien didn't feel like himself, but she smiled, and the world around him immediately changed. The main character had a look that sent shivers down your spine. His queen entered so cautiously, Damien already thought that she was an assassin. The girl hoped that Mion was gaining strength in his sleep. He couldn't fall asleep because he was thinking about her. Damien and Celia asked to have a good rest in the Duchy of Hyde. Why did she return so early? Was it because his queen was very sad when the young man was not around? Celia doesn't understand what Mion is talking about at all. Their bed is much more comfortable. All her thoughts were only about her. Damien didn't know that Celia could be a coward. Not everyone could bear confusion the way she did. Damien had worked so hard these past few days, so he wanted to hug her as a reward. Embarrassment gives Celia a special tenderness, as if she is about to melt. You immediately want to protect her. Damien understands what makes his queen nervous, and these feelings suit her. Mion's hands are like a separate world in which it is so calm and warm. Why didn't he do this before? At that moment, both main characters felt their anxiety disappear. Suddenly, the girl realized that she was experiencing something new, something that had definitely not happened before. Dimian is too close, and this closeness envelops the main character in a wave of new sensations. Maybe Celia should go back to the Hyde residence. Damien won't be able to sleep without his queen by his side. Everything was plunged into fog. The silence was cut by a familiar voice. They needed each other. At this moment, the main character seemed to be transported many years back. They need each other, so Celia must never take off her ring. A girl should not forget that he will always be on her side. Always. All night long, the main character dreamed of something vague. The mysterious fog seemed to foretell something to her. The daughter-in-law looked so tired, as if it was she who had lived half her life in this world, and not her mother. A delegation from Ametrine will appear at the ceremony. The faces of old acquaintances should inspire Celia. The protagonist's face finally glowed with a rested look. The return of his wife had done him good. The beauty of the son really cannot be described. He got this trait from his mother. Dimian gave the correct answer. The presence of her son brought Celia into a state of deep enchantment. It meant that soon her mother-in-law would be babysitting her grandchildren. What's with Mion's expression, the boy is like a cat in a fish shop? Mother doesn't care who they have. A prince or a princess with the genes of their parents, the grandchildren will achieve a lot. Children grow up so quickly. It seemed like only recently Celia was braiding bows into her son's hair. And now the ceremony of their coming of age. I wish their life in the future would be filled with happiness and peace. Lately, Nymeria has been overcome by a bad feeling that makes her insides go cold. What's going on? It seems like Mother got sick from the excitement before the ceremony. There is no need to bother the royal doctors unnecessarily. The pain will go away after a while. Such a long-awaited and joyful day should not be spoiled by anything. All the guests are eager to congratulate the king and queen, and one anxious moment should not ruin everything. Nymeria must endure the onslaught of pain, gritting her teeth and not letting the children be distracted from their day. It is important to remember the rules. You cannot single out some guests more than others. This will have consequences. The crowd greeted the great sunlight and the brilliant glory of Semele. Celia would never get used to these greetings. The main character had been preparing for this moment for 12 years, but the excitement did not go away. The queen's captivating beauty has captured the attention of the crowd, and Damien begins to worry. It seems that they should have held the ceremony just the two of them. The young man doesn't want to show his treasure to anyone. Celia is too beautiful to be true. Who would say? It is Dimian's beauty that is considered to be like that of the gods. His wife knows better from the outside. Now the main character is forced to avoid Mion's gaze. For some reason she began to blush when he was around. And now, after so many years, the main character will see familiar faces from her native Ametrine. They say that the sight of familiar faces makes a person feel at home, no matter where he is. The main character experiences this feeling just by looking at Mion, and Celia is struck by lightning. That man, last night she saw in a dream her past days, and in them was this young man. Could it be that part of the past, shrouded in darkness until this day, had finally caught up with Celia? Why was it Killian Oberon who became Ametrine's representative and Minister of the Interior? The main character hadn't seen Killian for so long that it seemed like an eternity had passed. The queen's excited reaction to the guest did not escape Dimian's eyes, which meant Celia knew him. Due to the shock, Celia forgot about the main rule. You can't single out one delegation, it should calm down. You need to look straight ahead and speak evenly, without putting in any emotion. Mion intervened just in time. To dispel the general confusion, my Lord Oberon is a childhood friend, so Celia could not contain her joy. Sir Oberon must be quite talented to have become a minister at such a young age. The protagonist immediately felt that something was wrong with this guest, but saw no evidence of this. Thanks to the grace of His Highness, little Ametrine continues to live in peace. The main character was glad to hear that her native lands were prospering, but in reality she was only concerned about one question: how fate treated her father, because Celia was never able to write him a letter. Lord Oberon had something in store, and he hoped it would bring joy to Her Majesty. The protagonist's gaze became cold. He immediately tensed up, as if preparing for a fight. Celia should be more careful. On this day, the main character received the best gift she could ever receive. Father had aged greatly over the years. Time had not spared him, but his eyes were still full of warmth and tenderness. Having been torn away from her home, the main character left a part of herself there. The distance does not diminish the longing for his family, and Damien is glad that Celia has the opportunity to see her father's face. Seeing his queen so happy is the best thing, but there is something about this guest that is worth looking at. The main character is immensely touched by Sir Oberon's gift and will treasure it. Suddenly, the main character's attention was drawn to the ring on his queen's finger, which she never parted with. The guest from the past wore a ring exactly like Celia's on his finger. Could it be that Celia wears her ring all the time as a sign of her deep connection with this young man? The guests continued to arrive and congratulate their majesties, but Dimian no longer heard anything. Nymeria continued to fight the attacks of pain, but her strength was waning. And when Dimian decided to calm his heart with answers, suddenly a cry was heard. His mother fell unconscious. No one in the crowd saw what happened. Horror filled the banquet hall. Why did he always keep himself waiting? The royal guard and mercenaries were sent to search for Kiara. A shiver ran through his body, meaning that Hades was already here. Why was it taking so long? The girl could be captured by the royal knights at any moment. There was hardly a person on the continent who would miss her. How dare a useless brat address her master like that? Kiara disobeyed the order. Celia's death wouldn't have changed anything anyway. If it weren't for Kiara, they wouldn't have had to go through all this trouble. This will be Kiara's last chance. She's attracting too much attention. If the girl fails this time, they will get rid of her quickly and without regret. This was not the first day that Kiara served them. They are terrible people, and nothing will save her from their punishment. What really terrifies Kiara is Hades' silence. She can't fail this time. Semele has no idea that the dark times have already arrived. Mother said that she was fine before the ceremony, so the children no longer believe her. Nymeria hasn't had wine in a long time. Mion won't tolerate lies knowing her mother's capabilities. The mother-in-law will not pass away until she sees her grandchildren. The children should not worry. However, Dimian learned that his mother began to see a doctor more and more often. It is unknown whether this disease is fatal. That is why Nymeria goes to the healer. She is no longer that old. The children must return to the hall immediately. The royal couple cannot show their weakness. The doctor must have gone too far, but wouldn't it be better to tell everything? If this continues, very soon her ladyship will not even be able to walk. Nymeria had already made up her mind. Nothing would convince her otherwise, and the healer must keep his mouth shut. Dimian's mother never regretted the decision she made and would do it again for her son. Nymeria knew full well what she would have to pay to save her child. If she had not decided to take a desperate step then, she would not have been able to see her boy healthy and happy. Nymeria erased all of Damian's monstrous memories of that day. No one must know about this. Her son must not know about this. The joy of the holiday did not last long. Duke Hyde came with disturbing news. The main character's fears were confirmed. The main puppeteer came out of the shadows again. While inspecting the castle, the knights discovered a pendant with a dark aura. It undoubtedly belonged to Kiara Sordians. The artifact still oozed dark mana, there was no doubt. The medallion was cursed. Ancient texts described monstrous rituals that deprived people of their will. Their performer was deprived of all feelings. The cursed pendant was merely a tool to summon and subjugate the monster. Such dark matter takes everything from the magician, leaving not even memories of a past life. Who can do such a thing? The list of members of the delegations that entered the palace must include the name of one of the henchmen. We need to look for discrepancies and also strengthen security at all entrances and exits of the castle. Kiara is just a tool. We need to find her before the puppeteer decides to get rid of her. Dark times are coming. How Dimian would like to become a shield for her from all troubles. Nymeria's health had been troubling her lately. Though she put on a show of well-being, Damian knew it. Nymeria's love and care produced a great king whose name will be written for centuries. Mother has been the support of the throne and the people for so many years, and some kind of illness cannot get rid of her. It's holiday time. There's nothing better than sharing the fun with loved ones. Nothing will please a mother's heart more than the joy of her children's lives. According to ancient traditions, the main characters were awaited by the solemn sacrament of Dynamis. Today, the heirs of the great dragon will take an oath of allegiance to the gods and their people. This day is filled with special meaning for all of Semele. The priest solemnly announced the maturation of the souls of the majesties. Under the gaze of the winged ruler of the continent, this day will become a symbol of great history. Dynamis created the world and brought life into it. His will continue to live in his children of the new generation. According to legend, the kingdom of Semele was the refuge of Dynamis. The dragon lit the spark that now burns in the hearts of the main characters. The great dragon is gone, but he has passed on his flame, and his heirs were not chosen by chance. With faith and trust, the couple swear to live under the protection of the great dragon Dynamis. In the name of the mighty dragon, the royal couple is declared of age. So be it. Dynamis left behind an echo that will sound forever. The mission of the high priest was completed. The gods would do their work. All that remained was to watch. It was a moment when every gesture and every look of the main characters was full of meaning. Music, looks, hugs, all this creates a unique atmosphere of the first dance. It seemed like the whole world was frozen in anticipation. The main characters were dancing with their hearts, not their bodies. They whirled around in a touching waltz, a dance of love that was understandable only to the newlyweds. Following the main characters, an atmosphere of happiness and excitement reigned in the ballroom. It seemed that it was not the music that led the couple, but their feeling. Their movements were harmonious, as if they were one. It was a moment that made all the guests believe in true love. The day has come that the main character has been waiting for with all his heart. He knows that all the difficulties were not in vain. They both have been working towards this for a long time and are now ready for the start of something special and wonderful. This day will be their reward for their patience and proof that they were meant for each other. The moment was just begging for a kiss, but Celia needed to make the decision herself. Let it happen naturally. His queen has nothing to worry about. She needs time, and Damien is not going to take it away. The main character's heart was in another dimension, but she made her feelings inaccessible to prying eyes. Suddenly, Damien's eyes froze. A shadow flashed in his gaze. Amid the general joy, the main character looked worried, which did not escape Celia's attention. The sudden kiss erased all the girl's worries, leaving behind only warmth and tenderness. This moment was a breath of fresh air that carried the two of them away from the outside world. Celia can count on her husband. Nothing is more important to him than her happiness. The main character felt the same. Her deepest desire was to see Mion happy. Celia's face betrayed all her feelings, a special sparkle in her eyes, a blush on her cheeks, a radiant smile. Her heart seemed to beat only for Mion, but not all the guests accepted the queen's feelings with joy. Only one detached figure stood out in the crowd. Killian had not lost yet. He would not give up. The cold, invisible but tangible, did not escape Damien's eyes, but he hid it from his queen. Celia's beauty is beyond compare. She is more beautiful than anyone else. Why did Mion make her blush right in front of the crowd of guests? Damien is the king of Semele. Who can stop him from seducing his wife? The main characters were enjoying each other, but suddenly a man from the past interrupted their idyll with his appearance. Killian's speech was fast and clipped, as if he was trying not to spill his thoughts. His childhood friend dreamed of getting Celia's second dance. There was impatience in Killian's voice. He had intentionally interrupted the newlyweds. Damien knew it. Sir Oberon is always so ignorant, or is he upset about something today? Damien's cold tone met Celia's pinch. All that awaits her and Killian is a dance, and the girl will soon return to her fiancé. Celia may be a guest from the past and just a friend, but she clearly occupies a special place in his life. The main character felt Mion's gaze. He followed her closely. Damien has suspicions about the motives of the guest from nowhere. There is something strange in his behavior. The protagonist knew that it was not jealousy that was causing his concern. There was something in the stranger, but he could not understand what. The news that Celia's father was surrounded by nothing but prosperity was the best coming-of-age gift. My Lord Oberon was always happy to bring good news to his queen. Now, the partner does not need to wear armor during the dance. Celia has clearly improved her skills. Killian always had holes in his shoes after dance lessons. After all this time, they still made fun of each other. The years haven't deprived them of their connection. Killian still treats her so naturally. It was exactly the same in their childhood, but from some point on, Killian began to come less and less often. Over the years, the main character has gone through difficult life experiences, just like Killian did. Celia is the luckiest of all. She is surrounded by the best people who care about her happiness. And with Mion, every day seems special. He is the most priceless gift in her life. The gods never created anyone like Mion again. A sharp voice suddenly interrupted her enthusiastic speech. All these years, Killian hoped that the queen had not forgotten about her ring and their last conversation. Before the beloved of the gods left her native lands forever, Killian became very ill. The disease was kept secret. So Killian suddenly disappeared. It all happened because of the release of magical power. It all happened because of the ring. It flew off his hand, then his magic went out of control, and then the unbearable pain consumed him again and again. Killian has lost his magic forever, and he does not want Celia to repeat his fate. She must never take off her ring. The decision to marry Semele's heir was made while Killian was ill. He always regretted it. There was not a day that the old friend spent without regretting the lost time with her. The queen listened to him. It was not easy to tell him about it, but it was necessary. Killian was grateful for it. The young man asks for only one thing. Celia must not allow the magic to consume her. If Celia loses her ring, a real hunt for the girl will begin at that very moment. And if something bad happens to her, Celia must remember her friend is still there. The pile of the past brought not only warmth, but also anxiety. Celia had driven thoughts about the ring away from herself for so long. The magical surge is excruciating for any mage, but thanks to Killian's ring, she is safe. She has nothing to worry about. And why does Semele's shining sun prefer to remain in the shadows on such a day? Celia forgets that they are connected to Damien. He always knows when she is overcome with anxiety. The protagonist becomes uneasy when he doesn't know what is bothering his queen. Celia simply suddenly realized that every step she takes in the present is accompanied by a trail of the past. There is no escape from it. Everyone has their own trail that they carry through life, and one day Celia will show Mion hers. The look, devoid of deep emotions, left no doubt. The presence of the guest from the past did not bother Celia at all. Damien was not mistaken. But there was something else here. Behind the feigned calm, there was a concern that the girl did not want to share. Past, present, future, wherever the main character was, she suddenly realized that she wanted to be with him. Mion always took a step forward, and Celia always ran away from it, but not anymore. The main character no longer wanted to think and be afraid, she just wanted to feel him. Her heart beat in time with his. They both wanted to surrender to this moment, this feeling. The girl had no idea how much she wanted to kiss Mion all this time. Celia realized that giving in to her feelings was the only way to understand what was happening. And with each day, the girl's confidence only grows. Feelings will show them the way. The main character did not know what love was until this evening. The world around her changed. Celia felt like she could move mountains for him, her soul filled with light. It was magic. The main characters felt like it would change them forever. In his eyes was her future, tenderness, trepidation, excitement, and all this in one moment. Why did the girl feel so naturally good in his arms, as if Celia was finally in her place? His breath was hot on Celia's ear, and his face was moving closer to his lips. It seemed that only at that moment did the main characters truly breathe. Tenderness slowly spreads warmth throughout the body, creating their own world for them. Their touches soothed the soul, and their smiles lit up everything around. Along with the warmth, the main character felt a slight excitement, while Mion was not at all ashamed to be calm. The warmth of memories of the past was mixed with worries about future changes. The sudden wave of confusion did not escape his eyes. Perhaps Damien had acted too hastily. The queen didn't say what she felt for him. Perhaps Damien was pushing her too hard. It was the first time. Celia was ashamed of her ignorance, but under Mion's warm gaze, she calmed down. The absence of even a shadow of doubt on the main character's face confused the girl. It seemed that something was wrong with her. However, even though the main character had been looking forward to this day for so many years, excitement was still in his heart. Celia has been his unattainable dream for so long. Damien still doesn't realize that this is really happening. All this time, the connection between the main characters was invisible, but so obvious to others. The main character caught Damien by surprise, taking a step towards them first. The young man was on the verge of taking this step, but Celia got ahead of him, and suddenly a button treacherously fell off his shirt. The heat of the main character's hearts made it too hot. At that moment, everyone wanted to leave all worries behind and surrender to a new feeling. But the weight of responsibility did not allow their feelings to flare up and burn everything around to the ground. Later, the main characters will start from where they were forced to stop. From that moment on, it was as if they existed in two dimensions, their own and the external one. It seemed that the outside world was just a shore, and the inner world was their ocean. New protagonists have emerged, marking the beginning of a new era. In the midst of endless fun and gossip, none of the guests noticed their absence. When the girl remembered their kiss, she felt so ashamed, but at the same time pleased. The main character stood nearby, but Celia's thoughts still returned to him. The girl lowered her eyes when Dimian looked at her. She was quickly overcome by shyness. However, avoiding Dimian was punishable. The young man promised to put her on his knees in front of everyone, from where she could not escape. Better to give it to her now, before any uncomfortable thoughts arise in Celia's mind. Dimian reached into his pocket with trepidation. A velvet box appeared from the darkness of his hands. The wedding rings lay in luxurious velvet, heralding a special moment. Suddenly it became clear in Celia's head she would not be able to put the wedding ring on the treasured finger. From the very morning, Duke Hyde's happiness was literally overflowing. Joy filled him, and it was visible in every movement, leaving no chance to ignore it. The man's face was full of smiles, and his eyes sparkled with delight. A woman was involved. On the Duke's finger was a matching ring given to Iris as a token of their love. The Duchess gave them the rings to wear together. It's their special symbol. Thanks to the paired rings, other people see that they have already met their happiness. The only jewelry Celia wore was an old ring, darkened by time. The old ring that had once been given to her was the only reminder of the past. Damian knew that. The protagonist hoped that their paired rings would become no less dear to her heart than that old ring. Celia's matching ring will keep the warmth of his hands on the ring finger of her left hand. However, the main character did not know. The old ring was not a reminder of days long gone. For Celia, it was salvation. Having put on the ring, the main character gained freedom and was not ready to lose it again. For the sake of their future, Celia will not part with the old ring for a minute. It has already become a part of her hand. Mion's ring would take her right hand. With every word he realized with alarm that the value of the old ring was not in the metal. Celia called it a friendship ring. After wearing it for so long, Celia would feel empty when she took it off. Even though Damian doesn't understand it, the value of this ring is immeasurable for both of them. It contains their only chance to be together. The heroine trusts Damian more than anyone else, but will not say anything for his safety. At that moment, the young man felt that there was something else that was eluding him. Damian felt anxious, but he didn't want his worry to become her problem. The protagonist would be glad if Celia could ever switch the rings. Suddenly, the girl realized that for the first time, a drop of jealousy had touched his soul. Celia's lies have poisoned his peace. She needs to give them back their peace. No one can be more important than Damian. His place in the girl's heart cannot be taken by someone else. Celia's love was always quiet, but it was greater than any words or actions. She wanted Mion to feel it. From their first meeting, Damian became her son without him. Celia would plunge into eternal darkness. Someday, everything will fall into place, and the main character will tell Mion everything, but not today. And today, as always, Celia will do everything to make the young man happy. The main character will protect him from the truth as long as she can, and hope that Mion will forgive her. The protagonist's heart was open to her without a shadow of a doubt, but it took time to open it, and he knew it. At that moment, the main character's worries disappeared, surrendering to the flow of their feelings, and there was nothing more important. They were no longer themselves. The heroes became part of something bigger. Their bodies and souls merged. It is impossible to bring everything to a state where they can no longer think about anything. It is not time yet. You need to exhale before they turn everything around you into ashes. Damian felt it first. Celia must let him cool down, otherwise even strangers' gazes will not stop the thirst of her tender lips. Instant removal was activated. Mion's words immediately raised a wave in her chest. Mion needs to stop being embarrassed. It suits him too much, otherwise she won't be able to tear herself away from him. He is too beautiful to give beauty to everyone so carelessly. It will be under the reliable protection of Celia. Not every man knew how to be embarrassed. For the heroine, this is a sign of a good heart. The embarrassment made the boy even more special. It was so real, Celia couldn't stop smiling. Suddenly, from the sound of an unfamiliar voice, her smile disappeared. Trouble had come. A girl came for Celia whom she did not know. Lord Oberon ordered the queen to be brought. The main character could not contain her anxiety when the stranger began to approach her. My Lord Killian asked to mention the ring so that the queen would be able to trust the unknown girl more easily. The main character immediately realized that something was wrong here. They had been walking for too long. The stranger was leading her into a trap. Their relationship with Lord Oberon seems too personal for what they say. The shared pair of rings are proof of that. Behind the majestic appearance lurked a woman whose affection warmed not only her husband. Beauty, intelligence, wealth. Celia appropriated the best for herself. How shameful to steal the attention of so many men. Once upon a time, a stranger dreamed of a wedding. She also had a groom. But one day, everything changed. Every word that girl said was like a lash laced with poison. Celia already knew who she was. Sometimes someone else's is better than her own. A new face is more pleasant than her own. Kiara was like a snake. She knew how to pretend, changing her appearance to catch her prey. Slippery, invisible, living in the dark viper, the queen understood everything. Kiara is like a shadow following behind the sun, with no path of her own. It has no weight or meaning, and any shadow can be erased without leaving even a trace. Kiara's decisions and actions are determined by someone else, but she accepts them as her own. Turning around, you can feel the strings that are pulling her. The main character doesn't need a doll, she needs a puppeteer. At that moment, Kiara should have been scared, but it seemed she knew everything. In the hands of a mere mortal, a magical weapon was useless. It's time to pass the baton of fear to Kiara. She will make Celia sincerely regret that day. Kiara will never come into Mion's life. She can't change that. She doesn't have to go this far to understand that. The main character was overcome with horror. Snake coils wrapped around her ankles, preventing her from stepping. Celia felt a cold weight as the snakes tightened their grip on her ankles. The mad woman was using black summoning magic again. In Semele, no one will hear the queen's screams. The noise-canceling magic will dissolve her voice into silence. Fate left Celia no choice. The moment came when she could no longer pretend. At the critical moment before death, everyone will have to face their true face. Celia knew this. Kiara's satisfaction lay in the agony of the god's favorite. She had to pay her with her pain. Her black heart was filled with only one desire, to make Celia wish for death. The imposter deserved this pain, and Kiara was ready to become an instrument of her punishment. The pain of losing loved ones will remain with her forever. Today Celia will remain alive, but she will regret it for the rest of her life. On the blood of those who rejected her, Kiara will pave her future, regaining her position in society. Soon Semele will be destroyed. They will bring humanity to its end, and no one will be able to stop them. Complete destruction of all things, chaos. The world will be flooded with rivers of blood. Kiara's contribution will be taken into account, and she will take her rightful place on the podium in the new world. The meal, which seemed so harmless, turned into a deadly trap. Poison was added to the glare of the lights. Poison added to champagne will be the final touch in this ballroom extravaganza. The madwoman has drawn absolutely everyone into a deadly game. Celia must prevent the tragedy. A feeling of guilt squeezed the heroine's heart. Coldness crept up her legs. Suddenly Celia realized these were snakes. The girl felt with horror how cold scales slid over her skin, leaving a wet mark. As much as Celia wants to help, she can only watch the pain and despair of those close to her. The main character was never weak and helpless. She had enormous power within her. Kiara didn't know this. Her restraint was just a mask hiding the power that could change the world. Since childhood, Celia had had a great strength in her heart that she was about to discover today. It was a destructive force, capable of erasing everything in its path. But for Mion's sake, the girl was willing to risk it. Celia was doomed to be crushed by the release of such power. Damien was more precious to her than life. This force, like a knife, would pierce through all her insides and in the end crush her with a steel wall. Celia knew it. Let the main character die, but he will live. All her loved ones will live. Only such a force can turn the tide. There is no defense against such power. Kiara felt it first. In an instant, the strength that the main character had kept within herself for so many years burst forth. It was all over, Celia had no doubt. She had been keeping a source of strength within herself for this very moment. It couldn't be true. Celia got everything Kiara wanted. The main character was like a sleeping volcano, inside of which an unimaginable force was seething. Suddenly, the main character felt as if an invisible shield appeared above him. In the whirlwind of fun, the guests did not notice anything, but not Damien. An invisible power was felt next to him. Someone's powerful force filled everything around. It seemed frightening, but at the same time, familiar. At that moment, the protagonists knew that this enormous power would bring them change. The changes caused by the release of energy were profound and irreversible. Its power grew with every moment and was ready to engulf its bearer. There was no time to waste. A pillar of magical light illuminated the kingdom, foreshadowing something important. A feeling of magic flowed through Semele, so strong that it seemed tangible. The flow of power was too powerful to be controlled. The magician was not here by accident. An unknown stream is capable of absorbing everything in its path, while its owner remains conscious. There is no time left. The main character was able to direct the flow of magic with difficulty, subordinating it to her will. Celia tried to stay strong, but her shaking hands betrayed her. With each passing minute, her control was weakening. The nightmares began to recede, giving way to a happy ending. The distraught girl was deprived of her magical talent, while a huge power awakened within Celia. The power of the ancient dark relic, which seemed limitless, dissipated upon colliding with Celia. Each wave of the main character's hand released more and more energy, shaking the ground around her. Kiara refused to believe. Everyone knows. Dark magic devours everything in its path. The darkness will swallow Celia too. And when the light of the gods' favorite finally fades, eternal darkness will reign over the continent. Celia's magic is a storm she cannot control, and the darkness will inevitably prevail. The Shadow Masters give Kiara the crown. The dawn of darkness has arrived. Celia's beauty can bring happiness not only to her. The black artifact gives Kiara her appearance. However, she was destined to live out her days in her vile skin. Celia survived again. It seems death got tired of coming for her. On the brink of death, the heroine suddenly realized that Mion was not only her shield, but also a force capable of changing the course of their history. All this time, the main character's strength was in him, and his strength was always in her. Even if Celia survives today, they will come for her tomorrow, and she will face eternal imprisonment in a magical tower. Her fate will be eternal loneliness together with Mion. Celia will lose her soul. Eternal confinement in a cold dungeon is the price the girl is willing to pay for his happiness. The main character lost control. She tried to hold back the flow of her magic, but it was breaking out of her hands. The final burst of magical mana knocked the enemy unconscious and sent her into painful oblivion. The magic was tearing apart its owner's body. Celia felt that she didn't have much time left. It all had to end before Damien tried to save her. Celia wanted to see his face one last time. The pain was unbearable, but it didn't matter. Celia only cared about one question. Would she ever see Mion again? The girl's soul was occupied only with him, and the pain could not penetrate her. A magical release was about to occur. The inevitable magical impulse shook reality as the voice of a friend rang out. Celia gave him her word on how she could remove her ring. Killian must break through the barrier before it explodes, and Celia must continue to fight. It was necessary to break the protective barrier. This was the only way to save her. There was little time before the explosion. If the epicenter of the magical mana was not calmed, the body of its bearer would be torn to shreds. Killian knew this. The young man's confidence quickly dried up. He couldn't even get close to Celia. The flow of her energy burned like a flame. Her magic wasn't just strong, it was all-encompassing and all-consuming. Killian couldn't handle it. The main character felt the magic burning her mind, causing her to scream in pain. Her body was burning from the inside, but her heart was at peace. Mion was safe. She saved him. Damien's voice came through the flames. A chill ran down her spine. She knew that it was no longer possible to leave him. By following her, Damien condemns himself to a painful death. No mortal can withstand the magical flow. The moment Celia saw him close to danger, she seemed to explode from pain from the inside. For the sake of their friendship, the girl begged Killian to take him away, but Mion's strength was like that of the gods. At that moment, nothing could stop the main character. He was like a raging ocean that knew no shores. Celia tried so hard to keep him alive. She would give the last thing she had left for him. The protagonist's body was unbearably burned by the magical flame, leaving marks that would never heal. Pain burned everything in his eyes, but Damien did not retreat, but continued the fight, looking only at her. In the flames of pain and despair, the main character's hope for a happy ending was born. When their story was predetermined, love and faith proved unwavering even in the face of the impossible. Each of the main characters felt unbearable pain for the other in their body. Their destinies were indivisible, and this decision did not belong to them alone. This mystery was yet to be solved. The main character's condition remained serious without any visible injuries. She was still unconscious. The girl seemed to be sleeping peacefully, surrendering to the power of deep sleep. But something worried Damien. Celia remained completely motionless, as if she was locked in her own body. His breathing remained even, his body relaxed, and there was no trace of worry on his face. But the usual movement during sleep was absent. This was the first time in his life that the doctor had encountered anything like this. The doctor wanted to know what had happened, but Dimian continued to keep the secret because that was what she wanted. The powerful waves were definitely magical in nature, which meant that the problem was not in Celia's physiology. It did not need healing. From childhood, there was a spark in the girl, something special, and the world around her blossomed. Dimian's late father always suspected that she had a magical gift. Semele, wounded by drought and famine, blossomed as if by magic as soon as Celia set foot on its lands. Afterwards, the late king tested Celia's magical potential many times, but all in vain. Celia's enormous power burst forth, and at the same time the strongest black mage appeared in the arena. This was not a coincidence, Damian knew it. Did Celia know what a powerful gift she held within herself? And if she knew, why didn't she tell him anything? There was never any room for deception and betrayal in his relationship with Celia, so why couldn't she trust him? The unsuspecting guests attributed the newlyweds' departure to an insatiable thirst for privacy, an irresistible attraction, a desire to enjoy each other. It seems that Semele will no longer have to worry about an heir. The new wave of gossip satisfied the interests of the crown, so it was decided to release it to the people. The weakness of the royal family is the weakness of the entire kingdom. Damian knew this, so he was forced to attend the ceremony until closing time to divert attention. As soon as the final chord sounded, the main character was already at the head of her bed. The queen's absence did not arouse suspicion, as her body struggled with an unknown illness. At that moment, the main character realized that Celia was not sick, but cursed. She needed a magician, not a healer. Suddenly, Dimian received a message. A stranger at the palace gates persistently demanded a meeting. This man appeared out of nowhere and had never been seen in the kingdom before. An unfamiliar magician arrived at the very epicenter of events. One thing was clear: his visit was not accidental. The clothes were simple and the gait was unsteady, which made the stranger's image harmless. Archon Vorden introduced himself as a low-level wizard who had arrived at the behest of the magic tower. The newly minted wizard was summoned to Semele. He was the guardian of all the unawakened. The magic tower is hungry for new wizards to fight the coming darkness. There was an explosion of colossal magical power in the palace. Hiding magic is like hiding the sun. Magic, like fire, does not tolerate concealment. The more you try to hide it, the brighter the explosion. The main character knew that they would come for her and was ready to fight, which did not escape the magician. They have a common goal: to help the unawakened. You can't hold back magic. It will always find a way out. Every mage is doomed to survive a surge of power, but magic needs control. Otherwise, the next storm will kill its bearer. Control is not a limitation, but an opportunity to survive. For a magician, uncontrolled magic is like a wild beast ready to tear apart. The purpose of the magic tower is to protect the unawakened, and more importantly, to prevent them from harming others or themselves. The king came out in person, which means the magic turned against someone close to him. The new magician is a member of the royal family. The poor fellow was unable to tame his power, and it consumed him, putting him into a sleep. If he is not awakened, all his life energy will dry up, and then death will come for him. To save the tortured magician, it is necessary to immediately regulate the magical flow in the body. The walls of the tower will become a prison for Celia, and the sky will be just a reminder of a lost world if magic is discovered within her. The main character already knew what he would do. There is nothing more valuable in life than her. First, he would save Celia from death, and then from the whole world. Dimian gave his word that she would never again be deprived of light and freedom. She would never be alone. Later, the young man is ready to declare war on all existence, but now his queen needs saving. All the actions of the main character always served her interests. This will come to the captain later. In the entire history of the continent, no one has seen such a surge of energy. What kind of person is capable of making a crystal flower bloom? The flow of energy of such power seems tangible. The Archon has never experienced anything like it. The warmth of the released energy penetrates through and through. It is felt by every cell of the body. The young mage tried hard to maintain a calm expression, but his eyes were already dancing with thirsty sparks. Seeing the source of enormous power, the Archon froze. He expected to see a child, but not an adult. Magical energy overwhelms the carrier even before adolescence. The absence of such energy surges is impossible. Such power could not fail to manifest itself, and this means only one thing: it was hidden from everyone on purpose. The queen could be the key to salvation. She had to be saved at any cost. The Archon understood this. The darkness thickens around Semele, and only a light of such power can dispel it. Suddenly, the magician pulled his hand away from Celia and then extended it forward again, but this time carefully. His mind, accustomed to clarity, was now clouded with anxiety, which did not escape Damien's eyes. The Archon's spells spread out into the void, not touching their target. He sought an answer, but his questions only multiplied. Suddenly, the understanding came. Celia had not gotten better, she was still suffering, and Damien felt the full horror of powerlessness. The fear of losing her turned into pure rage. The magician's words of help turned out to be empty. The Archon gave the queen hope for healing and then took it away. Her lie will be his death sentence. Only a mage with superior strength can cope with such a task. Archon is not one of them. To survive, the queen needs an archmage. Despite all his efforts, the Archon was only able to buy her time. The girl will soon come to her senses, but will regain control only for a short time. The magic will continue to devour her powers, and when they run out, she will fall asleep again. Given her complete exhaustion, the queen will regain her senses within a week. The short period of clarity should not blind one's eyes. Celia will still be in mortal danger. Magic has always balanced between light and darkness, which means a white magician must know about black magic summoning. The Archon's eyes reflected horror. Even a great magician is powerless before the abyss of darkness. Such magic defiles everything it touches. The shadow of black matter distorts the essence, subjugates the will, and absorbs. Dark magic possesses a person, not the other way around. His world becomes the abyss of shadows, because dark rituals are a crime in the magical world. Black magic is not a gift at all. It is a curse that requires sacrifice. Archon does not know a single psychopath who is ready to pay with his life for this. In the royal dungeon, there is a girl whose existence is completely subordinated to a dark magician. The shadow of dark magic fell on everything it touched. A putrid smell and black stains covered her entire body and clothes. Obsession, dull eyes, trembling hands. This is the appearance of a person who has fallen under the influence of a cursed artifact that grants temporary power. The black magic had been feeding on Kiara's darkness for a long time, draining her day after day. It took her away, leaving only an empty shell. Life in the shadows became the price for retribution, but it was all in vain. The magic of the cursed objects was powerless against the favorite of the gods. The prisoner knew Hades would come for her, but she desperately believed in her own value, so she looked for one last chance to kill. Kiara is ready to do anything for revenge. There is no room in her soul for anything except poison. Isn't she the perfect instrument of chaos? For Hades, her existence never had any weight. Kiara was always just a shadow of someone else's will, with no value of her own. A useless doll cannot understand the scale of her mistake. When every step counts, mistakes are not forgiven. The useless girl had 2 misfires on her account. Kiara had sentenced herself. Her soul already belonged to the darkness, and her body would be taken by an ancient curse. The curse quickly found its victim, but her cries for revenge did not cease. The girl drew the attention of the light to the shadows, which illuminated their hidden corners. Chaos had to retreat. All her attempts were useless and failed. Kiara is an unnecessary doll. It's time to throw her away. Her miserable life was useless, but death would bring benefit. The darkness, like a snake, did not release her from its tentacles, filling her lungs. The darkness of the curse crawled along the walls, foreshadowing trouble. The black magician felt that they were not alone here. The bad feeling passed the young magician by. All his attention was riveted to the awakened one. Such a power should become a part of them. After rehabilitation, the queen would be separated from her family. Archon knew it would be painful, but it was necessary for everyone. The magic tower will not be able to act otherwise. Magic of such power will drive the queen crazy, depriving her of contact with reality. Celia's future will not be like this. The main character said only one phrase and suddenly ordered everyone to shut up. Darkness entered the castle, and Damien felt the cold and emptiness it brought with it. In the silence behind the cell door, a thick darkness lurks. The sword in Damien's hand and the light in his heart will dispel it. The main character's power is like the sun, whose light can tear apart any darkness. The Black Magician knew this. The darkness was close, but Dimian only managed to touch it. The prisoner disappeared again. All the walls of the dungeon were soaked in blood. The prisoner could not leave this place on her own 2 feet. There were no marks in the cell, which means the escapee did not use teleportation magic and could not have run far. The Black Mage is limited in using movement spells. This is the knight's chance to intercept him. Suddenly, a deafening silence fell over the dungeon. They were faced with a horror they could not imagine. The young magician's weak stomach immediately showed itself. Kiara did not leave her prison, and a terrible end overtook her. The Black Magician used one of the unforgivable death spells, which causes unbearable pain to the victim. Only ruthless psychopaths, black wolves, are capable of using unforgivable spells. If Hades had delayed even a little, he would have lost his hand. Dimian wields a power that poses a huge danger to chaos. In an instant, the king felt that the darkness was already here. His hand twitched, and a stream of enormous power burst out of it. Semele's heir was not a magician, but he had a subtle connection with the world. He felt its vibrations. Their end may lie in Dimian's strength. The screaming guy behind him was sent by the tower. There was no time to waste. The darkness of chaos will become an abyss for Semele, absorbing all the light around. Time to act. After so many years of persecution and harassment, the Riders of Darkness had long and patiently hatched their plan, and now everything was ready. The main character's back was wet with cold sweat, and images of her worst nightmare were spinning in her head. Her power had absorbed Mian. Awakening, like a ray of light, dispelled the darkness of the nightmare. In reality, he was safe. Instead of an all-consuming surge of energy, now there is only fatigue and weakness. As soon as the magical emission touched her consciousness, everything that happened that day disappeared, dissolving into light. The flow of energy was once again stabilized, and with it, flashes of memory began to appear in her head. Celia was worried about only one thing. The deepest wound she inflicted was with her unbridled magic or her lies. What hurt Dimian the most was not the fall, but the person who pushed him in the back. The heroine knew this. The pain that Celia caused became the greatest torment for her. She could not find forgiveness for herself. The main character's body asked for peace, but her heart drove forward, forcing her to look for it among the crowd. Life imprisonment in the dungeon of the Magic Tower. That's what awaited the Archon if he gave information about the Black Wolves. The dungeon is just cold walls, and Damien's wrath is eternal fear. King Semele is so young, but has already become a tyrant. All the secret knowledge of the tower is for official use only. Some knowledge is the key not only to safety, but also to danger if it falls into the wrong hands. A soft voice came from behind, causing everyone to turn around. Why did Mian bring the poor mage to tears? Her awakening brought waves of emotion. Celia was the dream of two, but her choice was clear. The main characters had one fear for both of them, which connected them more strongly than anything else. The fear of losing each other was the most secret and vulnerable place that each of them carefully guarded. Mian's pain is Celia's hell, from which she cannot escape, forgiving herself for it is an impossible task. His body was tormented by the girl's magic, and his soul by her betrayal. All the darkness in the world could not extinguish the warmth and light of their hearts. Now the main characters knew this. Celia was so afraid for Mian and was ready to destroy everything just to save him. It's incredibly touching, but the awe shouldn't overshadow the importance of the Queen's health. The magician must examine her. The Archon's power will penetrate Celia's skin without touching her. He needs to eliminate the threat to her life. The magician moved his hand over the girl, scanning her energy. With the help of such power, a lot can be changed. The magic continues to leak out. It's a miracle that the Queen woke up so quickly in her state. The Magic Tower is the key to healing the Queen. All the answers are hidden inside it. The Archon himself is powerless to help. His magical potential is shattered by her raging waves of power. Mages are divided into classes depending on their innate power and how freely they control it. The lower ones can only manipulate power. They are called allies. Average magicians are performers. They control their own and natural magic. Higher mages are masters. They cannot be ranked. They transform life, animals, and nature. There are only 5 of them on the continent. Archmages also cannot be rated. Only the great dragon Dynamis and the first mage of the tower had this title. It seems that deep within the Queen's soul lies a power capable of changing the course of history. But if such a great power becomes a mistress and not a servant, a time of great troubles will come for Semele. The magic tower is the only way to keep her alive, otherwise her magic will turn into a blind force and destroy everything. The master of the tower holds all the answers, so the archmage is the only one familiar with the power of the black wolves. Some mages left the tower with evil intentions and spent years building up forces around them. All this time, the Chaos Riders managed to hide from the tower with the help of magical artifacts. The shadow priests hid in the shadows and lusted for power, causing natural conflicts and bringing chaos to the world. The time has come in Semele when magic has become a weapon and they demand a new source of power from the tower. The goal of the Black Wolves is not just to enslave and rule humanity, but to rewrite their world. The magical order needs to be replenished in the face of the impending Armageddon. The awakening of Celia's power cannot be a coincidence. The balance of magic is collapsing, and the only hope for salvation lies in the Queen's magic. This world has been falling apart for a long time, but finally light has emerged through the darkness. Only one thing was clear: the old world would not withstand the new threat, and the key to salvation was kept in the tower. The main character was afraid of this for so long, and now her fears have become reality. However, in the face of inevitability, her fear retreated, her eyes burned with determination. Celia would not let Mion and this world down. The girl's life was a chain of events, each of which was difficult but necessary for her to end up here. The main character is ready for a new stage. She was brought here not only by difficulties, but also by the happiest moments, and they are worth any struggle. The fates of the main characters are intertwined, and now they have become inseparable. Mion's fears are in vain. They will no longer be separated. The main character will not become another cog in the magic tower, but will become its support. Celia will become a loyal ally of the tower in the battle for the light. She will stand next to it, not under it. The Queen would earn her freedom by force. There would be no room for dominance or submission in their exchange. The tower's master would not allow it. The Archon knew it. The magic tower can no longer resist the approaching darkness. Celia has become their new light. It seems that the main character will be able to bend the will of the tower's owner. The Archmage does not recognize authorities other than his own will, but the Archon will be on her side. Soon the magic will absorb the girl. She needs to be placed in the magic tower as soon as possible. No one must know about the Queen's gift. Only those she trusts unconditionally will set out on the journey. The choice was made. Count Waldorf's loyalty would oblige him to keep her secret, while Archon would not betray her out of his own interests. The main characters will go through a new test together. Dimion will always be there and will become a guide for Celia. The fastest way to get to the magic tower is the teleportation gate, but it is only safe for mages. Once the king and captain cross the magical mark, the gate may behave unpredictably. Painful side effects await them. Pain doesn't matter when there's a goal. No matter how much it hurts, Damien won't let go of her hand. The crown and magic are two different worlds, but they have one war, and for the first time in history, they will unite. The wizards craved power, and magic was the means to achieve it. The crown did not allow their influence to expand. However, the impending horror may unite the irreconcilable opponents. Celia will become a bridge thrown across their abyss of enmity. The main characters were still in the silence before the storm. Dimion continued to be tormented by the question of why she hadn't said anything. The girl kept her secret for so long, but now she realized that it was her biggest mistake. Damien deserved to know the truth about her more than anyone else. Her silence was an act of protection, albeit a painful one. If people find out about this, the main character will again lose what is most precious to her and will be left alone with the desert of melancholy. Celia's secret was their fortress. Their feelings were what they wanted, and the secret protected them. At the moment when the girl realized that she could lose Mion forever, she experienced all-consuming fear for the first time in her life. And now this fear haunts her everywhere. Hiding such strength is like holding a hot coal in your hands. It was hard for her. There's always a storm raging inside Celia, and she doesn't know how long she can hold it back. But her strength is doubled when she's with Mion. Secrets are painful and divisive, and Damien doesn't want to lose her because of that. Through the pain of the quarrel, his concern for her condition still came through. Celia saw it. The main character will no longer be afraid. She is ready to open her whole soul to Mion and tell all her secrets. Celia's magic had been locked inside for so long. Oberon was the one who allowed her magic to exist in the shadows. There was a similar ring on Killian's hand, but Celia didn't feel any thrill when she looked at it. That was obvious now. Every day for Oberon was the same battle as for Celia to suppress her power, but he lost. Trying to suppress the magic, Killian only strengthened it, and one day it burst out, devastating its owner. His power dried up. The ring of containment slipped from his finger, leaving only emptiness and pain. But could magic ever run out completely? Can a magician become an ordinary person? The more Dimian thought about it, the more he realized that something was wrong. Too much had happened at once to be a mere coincidence, but her heart must be free from anxiety. The protagonist will occupy his queen's thoughts with something pleasant, so as not to leave room for worry. The girl talked so much about another man. Dimian will leave a place in her soul only for their happiness. However, every thought of the main character, every desire was connected with him, but suddenly Mion has a secret. The main character always shared everything he had with Celia and hoped that it would be the same with him in the future. How her heart yearned for his warmth. Only next to him did Celia feel in her place. And at that moment, when she was already aiming to kiss Mion, he stopped her for the first time. First, her body needed to recover. At the moment of loss of control and peak of desires, the balance of power will be disturbed. Celia will again be engulfed by a surge of magic. The main character would like to become a safe haven where Mion will always find shelter and protection. They will face a difficult test, but they will pass it, hand in hand. Each of the heroes knew this. It's time to get out of your shell and discover your strength. This is the fate of the main character. And Celia would have to accept it, as she had long feared this day. But her fear ended where the inevitability began. Before starting a new chapter of the story, the main character had to meet her past. Celia did not come on time, but the young man was always ready to wait for her as long as it took. The girl often recalled her childhood, and those memories always made her feel warm. The main character asked to convey the warmest words to her father. She is glad that he is not alone. Suddenly, Celia noticed a shadow of guilt on his face. His soul groaned from helplessness in the face of danger. At the moment when Killian should have helped her, he couldn't. The young man saw how she was suffering, but he only choked from helplessness. His thoughts were held captive by guilt, like the jailer who tormented him day after day. Thanks to Damien, she was saved, and the world became safer. That day, the main character gave Celia a second life. Nervous tension made Killian's cheekbones clench. The tower's mage suppressed the raging force that was consuming her life force. Now Celia was safe. But her strength weakened only for a time to pacify her. The master of the tower needed his skill. In an instant, Killian's face became unrecognizable. The familiar features instantly became alien. Celia cannot do this. It will only bring her pain. The childhood friend had always treated the magic tower with obvious hostility. For the first time, a feral anger flashed in his eyes. His gaze darkened. Rage consumed his mind, turning him into a real predator. It was better to die immediately than to live in anticipation of death in the tower. Celia's memory gives her the strength to move on, but has she forgotten the taste of pain from losing loved ones? Killian's words were base, calculated to cause maximum pain. Damien knew it. A true friend cannot stand behind such motives. Her peace is important to Dimian, so he cuts off everyone who disturbs it. Celia must be free from harmful connections. Why Minister Amatrin considers it her right to interfere with the Queen's decision? Interfering in the affairs of another country, intentionally causing harm. What does Celia even know about this man? A true friend's goals will never cost another person suffering. Celia's childhood was too hard. Killian doesn't want her to go through that again. Friend is more important than the goal. Killian's egoism is blind and completely does not see how it poisons their friendship. Suddenly, the previous tension left the Lord's face, leaving behind a quiet serenity. He had crossed the permissible line for which he asked for forgiveness. Feeling the soft features of her old friend, Celia assured him that she was stronger than it might seem. And together with Dimian, they would get through any dark times. Now Celia knew that. The main character felt that this conversation was not over yet. He was hiding something important. This man appeared suddenly with a sharp and inexplicable dislike for the tower on which the Black Wolves rely in their thirst for revenge. So maybe magic still flows through his veins. Otherwise, why would Oberon continue to wear the ring on his finger? Killian actually hid his magic because he didn't want to lose his family like the Queen. But as his lordship said earlier, all of Sir Oberon's magic had long since run out. Nothing happened, but can this be a guarantee that the magic has really disappeared? It's a shame for Celia. Times are turbulent these days, and Oberon acted as if it wasn't him. She had to tell about the ring. Killian was ready for this and had long since gotten over the loss of magic. The path to the magic tower is very dangerous, will trouble pass the main characters by. Is there anything to fear from the heavenly favorite and the king like the gods? But how wrong they were. The Tower of Mages is a deadly and stinking cesspool that will make you lose everything you had, even your will. Will it be as calm in the magic tower as the main character hopes for? And again on the road, what will it bring to Celia this time? She didn't want to leave her new home like this, but fate has other plans for her. The Duke and his wife will miss you. Her Highness must definitely return to Semele healthy. So, what awaits the main characters in the Tower of Magicians hidden from prying eyes? What will it give them, and maybe take away? They have a difficult path ahead of them, but the most important thing is that the main characters will go through it together. But there is one question. Why does the magician ride with his spouses in the same carriage? The Archon has trouble sitting in the saddle, and the royal carriage is quite spacious. After the last conversation, Dimian's words spread like poison through Celia's consciousness about what happened between Oberon and the magic tower. In the blink of an eye, Killian turned into a predator, ready to attack at any moment. It seemed that he was scared and angry. As if Oberon had someone dear to him taken away in the magic tower, how could Celia be sure that she knew her childhood friend? How did Killian's childhood go? What experiences shaped his personality? What scars did it leave on his body? Who is the new head of the Oberon house? Celia again continues to torment her head with heavy thoughts. Mayan is like a radar, picking up every impulse from the girl. It would be better to calm him down. There was already a wave of new experiences ahead. You need to think about how to protect yourself from the tenacious clutches of the magic tower. They say that they immediately squeeze your throat with an iron grip and will never open it again. The magician said that he would contact the owner of the magic tower. What was his reaction? An unexpected problem arose here. In fact, the Archon has not been able to contact the owner of the tower since he left. It sounds like a bad omen for what is happening behind the walls of the magic tower. These are dark times. Dangerous changes are coming. No one can be trusted. The magician continues to try to contact the tower's owner, but something is blocking his signals. Such matter may belong to a sorcerer who, with particular cruelty, took the life of his accomplice in prison. The Archon thought the same thing. Things are bad. The Black Wolves are stalling for time so that the magician does not warn the tower. In addition, dangerous extremists are trying to hide their location, which means they need to hurry to the tower before it's too late. Rumar is located near the gates of the magic tower. It would be safer to stop for the night here, but is it really so? The whole town is decorated. There are street vendors everywhere, which means there is a festival in Rumar today. The main character found herself in territories not connected with Ametrine and Semele for the first time. This should be interesting. If Celia is eager for new adventures, the main characters can later get to know the city together. Before dark, we need to find a tavern. We should be careful. Their arrival in the city is already known. Then, a sudden problem arose because of the festival. There were no free double rooms left in the tavern. However, this is the only local inn that has any rooms at all, and what do? The innkeeper said that there were 2 single rooms left. Celia would book them. The girl won't regret her decision, and the gentlemen can enjoy the festival while their rooms are being prepared. The main characters will live in one room, and Count Waldorf with Archon in another. No one will be against it. Celia hopes that their stay at the tavern will remain confidential, because they will not disappoint her. The heroine cannot believe it. She went to the tower of her own free will. She walks freely around a strange city. Everything will be fine. In an instant, the mood in the room changed. Waldorf and Archon should look around and leave the spouses alone. So far, there have been no obstacles in their path, but will the rest of the road be as safe and calm? Light will always border on darkness. They can't let the darkness overshadow their bright present, can they? When the main characters are around, they have nothing to fear, but is this really true? Delicious street food, laughter, and joy all around. It's like the couple's honeymoon. The pattern of this scarf is so unusual, the girl had never seen anything like it before. The main character suddenly has a business. She needs to look around. Dimian will be waiting for her outside. Celia looks so happy and serene. How long can the protagonist provide this? How long the lull before the storm will last? Dimian does not know. The main character had a great time, the locals are so friendly, but where is her Mion? The same crowd, the same street stalls, the same noise, but suddenly the air became drastically different. Why is the main character standing next to a stranger? And why is Mion smiling like that at another girl? Celia had never seen such a smile on the boy's face before. What did it mean? Her Highness is also here. The couple must be having a good time together. And where is the Queen's gaze directed? As Celia had long since returned, Dimian had gone away for a short time to acquire something, some relief. The heroine once again managed to imagine all sorts of things. Mion stopped this in time. The young man will tell later about his purchase. For the first time in his life, the main character avoided answering what all this was supposed to mean. It's time for the daily inspection. Archon needs to scan the Queen's magical mana and stabilize it if possible. Judging by the flow of mana, today her ladyship need not worry. The Queen will not blow up this city. But Celia was absorbed by a new feeling. Why was Mion smiling so brightly? It couldn't be that he liked the owner of the shop. Oddly enough, Archon injects his magic to stabilize the situation, but his power is immediately absorbed. The magician is not an expert in female psychology, but he can assume that something is bothering Her Majesty. What happened anyway? If Archon finished, the Queen will rise to her place. What was it? A blank look, avoiding direct answers. The Queen must be so worried about the magic tower. Why did Celia act anxious and strange during her evening walk? Damian bought a precious necklace from a street vendor, which immediately reminded him of his wife. The main character was gone for literally a couple of minutes. Nothing could have happened during that time. Will Celia feel better when the young man shows her the gift? They will find out very soon. If Count Waldorf has already finished examining the surroundings, then he can go and rest. What the... The main character instantly clung to Dimian, as if he were the only island of safety in the chaos of darkness. What does all this mean? Why is the main character so scared? She needs to know why Mion was smiling like that. Today, while walking through the festival, the young man smiled so brightly at that vendor. Why did Mion do that? The girl understands perfectly well that she is behaving strangely. Something seems to be driving her crazy and not giving her soul a moment of peace. And to calm this poisonous feeling, Celia needs to know why Mion smiled like that at another girl. Everything has suddenly changed. Celia is confused. Does this mean she is becoming greedy? Damian has been through all this before. Their feelings change at different speeds. His queen is in no hurry to speak. But despite this, the main character will always be next to Celia and will wait for her answer. Why is the main character still afraid to tell Mion about her feelings if her soul is literally screaming about it? On that shopping street, Damian saw a necklace as unique and beautiful as Celia herself. The main character wanted to give it to her today upon his return, but the girl's curiosity had its own plans. This was the first time the main characters had gone outside of Semele together, and Dimian wanted to give them something memorable. When the main character imagined Selyat wearing his necklace, he couldn't help but smile. So that's what that bright smile meant. It was meant only for Celia and no one else. The main characters, being in the same room, finally began to breathe the same air. Although the main character wanted to leave Dimian and go to the tower with other men just recently, Dimian gives his word that his wife's life will never again be shaken against her will. How can Mion give the heroine so much confidence when she, on the contrary, was never sure of her feelings? The main character looked so stupid all this time, but she can no longer pretend that she doesn't understand anything. His queen should eat well, then her internal state will stabilize. As the night approaches, all feelings become stronger, and Celia is no exception. Dimian Semele takes up too much space in the girl's heart and thoughts. One thing is absolutely clear here. The main character loves this young man as much as her heart can. Let Celia repeat it once again. No matter how much the girl tried to restrain herself, now she no longer cares whether this decision was right or not. Whenever Celia thinks again about how Mion smiled at another girl, she wants to hide him from everyone like a treasure. The main character wants to shout about her feelings so loudly that only she can be heard, so that there is no one left around except the two of them. Let Celia say it again. How much time was wasted? The main character could not even imagine that they needed each other so much. This is a completely new era, in which Damian has become an oblivious inevitability for the girl. What will happen next? And will it be safe to indulge in their feelings now? The magician ordered to exclude any excitement. He does not know the exact state of the queen. Until the magic tower studies Celia's power, any emotional outburst will be dangerous for her. Who knows what would have happened tonight if Damien hadn't stopped it? They both remained silent for so long, and now they both can talk about their love as much as their souls need. Will it always be like this? The magician wondered what the couple had been doing in their room for so long. It's a state secret. Everything around is unstable. They need to hurry to the magic tower. The young men didn't want to keep Archon waiting. Let Celia speak for herself. The royal carriage took the shortest route. There was only a short distance left to the tower, and this worried everyone in their own way. When the Archon uses his power, the gate will activate and instant teleportation to the magic tower will occur. Will teleportation be dangerous? Because of strong vibrations, beginners can experience hallucinations collected from the most sad and painful images. This is something worth writing about before entering. Both main characters keep a lot of pain in the deep chambers of their consciousness. Will they be able to withstand meeting her again? Will Celia's body be able to withstand teleportation in her condition, and what side effects will she have to pay for? If Her Highness is concerned about her health, the mage can cast a protective spell on her. The tower's owner himself created the magic formula for the spell. Archon will activate it for the first time. The king should worry about whether the protective spell might dissipate in the process. This is impossible unless the protection is placed on the tower's owner or a person with a special aura that is immune to magic. If His Highness does not want to look for new staff after the trip, the rest of us should step aside. The knights do not need to be told twice. Will it be possible to return to Semele as the main characters were before the magic tower? What awaits the young people next is a strange world and a foggy unknown. Isn't Celia scared? Dominion is uneasy, and Celia is confident that the protection will not wear off and everything will be fine, whose premonition turns out to be correct. If the royal couple is ready, the Archon will activate the magical teleportation gate. Will the magical tower become a salvation for Celia or a suffocating prison? The heroes have an unexpected problem. The tower's magic gates won't activate. This has never happened before. There is no way that the magic formula could be wrong. Could the portal break? It's impossible. It was installed by the Lord of the Magic Tower himself. The main character said that he sensed something was wrong. This was not just a coincidence. It was done intentionally. The magic stone that activated the portal has disappeared. Without it, Celia is doomed. The magical mineral is the core that powers the gate and should not be touched with bare hands. They are all doomed. Without the stone, they cannot get into the tower, and from the tower here, and the connection with the ruler has been broken. What to do? Damien suspected that Archon had simply been thrown out of the magic tower. If the stone looks like a gem, it is worth looking for it in the nearest local pawn shops. This place may not be what it seems at first glance, so be on your guard. The travelers are looking for something and hope for help from the pawnshop owner. If the traveling guests did not see that very item on display, then it does not exist at all. Judging by the appearance of the visitors, they are some kind of aristocrats, 2 men and 1 woman. It is worth getting rid of them as soon as possible. The travelers really want to find a certain stone, and the man won't disappoint them. This mineral is round, blue, and precious, which means the guests came because of rumors about the treasure of the sea. The Archon wanted to personally look at the treasured stone. His future fate depended on it. By this time, this had become impossible. The lot had been sold, and the question remained, who bought it? This mineral is important for the guests. The pawn shop works based on the protection of its customers. Even if they ask strongly, their request will not be fulfilled. But the shop owner can find a similar item for the visitors. This is impossible. So if a man honestly tells how the precious stone got here and who bought it, he will get all this money. The festival was dedicated to the demonstration of the magic stone. Its new owner really wanted to show it off, which meant it was right under the heroes' noses. A man in a black robe brought a precious ocean-colored stone to a pawn shop and sold it for next to nothing. The owner sold the mineral at a high price to Moffat Jizak, a local influential nobleman. Sir Moffat liked the magical mineral so much that he is going to show the sea treasure at the ball. They have no other choice. The girl knew that difficulties were coming, but she did not expect to encounter them even before the magic tower. She was running out of time. The stranger was wearing a black robe, which means only one thing: black wolves are involved. The Dark Clan continues to cut them off from the tower. These extremists have never acted so openly. What is going on? Returning the stone is also a problem if you ask to do it directly. The location of the portal gate will be revealed. Then there is only one thing left: theft They will replace the stone with a similar one during the ball. The queen just said that. Their journey is secret. Celia cannot reveal her identity. The owner of the pawn shop said that despite having a wife, Moffat is a great lover of women. So the main character goes to the mansion, pretending to be a lover. What could go wrong here? The queen wants Damien to declare war on this state, but do they have any other choice? Celia's body is still unstable. It would be better to find a way to go on the heist together. You can find weak spots in the security system or simply bribe the guards, which can come back to haunt them later. The main character has an idea here, and the girl needs Archon's help. Although the main characters are now looking in the same direction, they are thinking about completely different things. His Majesty is very late. Should we start worrying already? It's all about Archon. Since he is a low-ranking mage, it is difficult for him to implement appearance-changing magic. They need to wait a little longer. But will everything go smoothly? Will they not bring on new trouble? It's crazy. Count Waldorf has never seen anyone more beautiful in his life. What strange speeches towards your king. Mion now looks so much like Iris. The magician did a great job, didn't he? It would be better if Damien declared war than his wife saw him as a woman. The Archon's magic envelops the king like a haze. Is there a chance it will dissipate? It's simple magic, so it will last for half a day at most. Government officials usually use the back door. They should use it. And how does the queen know this? Every time Damien thinks he knows Celia, she surprises him. Suddenly, the path was blocked. A shudder ran through Celia's body, but her appearance remained unperturbed. The main noise is so crowded and noisy, so many extra eyes. Guests can use something else. Wouldn't it be better for beautiful and young aristocrats to enter without unnecessary attention? Ladies are welcome guests this evening. The gentlemen will be greatly saddened by their absence. The milord's confidants knew well that their master was distinguished by his excessive amorousness. Attention is a gift that the noblewomen promise to the host of the ball. When the women show their invitations to the ball, the guards escort them out. The girls said that they were the Viscount's welcome guests. The suicide bombers are sure that they want to make them wait. That woman, her aura is so terrifying. The knights ask the lady for forgiveness for waiting, and so the main characters entered safely. Now the heroes are in the dark sector on the other side of the law. The operation to steal the sea treasure begins. You need to find someone who knows the location of the stone. The Archon will try to discover the power of the mineral. When one of the three finds a clue, let them return to the corridor through which they entered, and may they have luck today. The Viscount bought an expensive mineral, threw a lavish ball. Why is he so bored? The host of the ball sees this young lady for the first time. She looks so sweet and innocent. How unlucky she is. The Viscount will not be alone tonight, whether this lady wants it or not. The predator himself goes after the prey. As expected of him, now everything will be decided. What beautiful ladies adorn the Viscount's estate. One shines like the dawn, and the other is beautiful as a blue rose. None of the ladies will outshine these two beauties. That was the plan. This is their first public appearance. It was such an honor for the young aristocrats to be here, and it would have been better if their uncle hadn't let them down with the stone. Getting this bright flower will be easier than expected. The girl does not even imagine how her first ball will end. This old man doesn't even know how his dinner party will end. What is the probability that a predator will suspect another predator of its intended prey? This slippery man sees only what he wants, and Celia takes advantage of this. Will it continue to be so easy? Whether the young guest is familiar with the nightlife, Celia barely has enough knowledge. The trap has slammed shut. The aristocrat knows little. Can she ask the Viscount to teach her? This was exactly what the old womanizer dreamed of hearing. He can't leave now, but before that happens, there is one question. Everyone is talking about the treasure of the sea. Celia would like to see the stone before the Viscount presents it to the guests. The man asks to spend the night with him, but in return, Celia will not receive special treatment to see the gem. It's just a stone. Will the Viscount risk the night with a young and beautiful stranger because of it? The host of the ball was still going to present his pride to the guests. The game with the Viscount was over in the same world. The main character won. Viscount Moffat will show the treasure of the sea to the young lady first. She understands what an honor it is. What the wife just asked the old man to teach her was to find out where the magic stone was. Damien can pack his uncle into bags later, but now they have to rob him. Celia's body is becoming less and less stable. Well, here the main characters have arrived. This is the treasure of the sea, aren't they mistaken? The main character has difficulty grasping the magical power of this mineral. It must be him. Well, since the host of the ball managed to impress his companion, they can decorate this evening with more vivid impressions. Where does the old man stretch his hands, and it is definitely a woman? Where does such incredible strength come from in such a fragile and beautiful body? Viscount Moffat had no idea that the blue rose also longed for his attention. This was not a problem at all. The old man had crawled in for his death out of turn. The main character will take care of his grandfather and let Celia look for the magician, whether it is possible to leave the two of them alone. This ball will not end the way the nasty old man wanted, but he was not at all a pity. Now the girl began to clearly feel the magical magic. Maybe this is due to the stabilization of the Archon. And here comes the magician. Celia feels his magical flow very close. Archon almost managed to find the magic mineral. His mana is already very close, just a couple more minutes. Their mission is complete. Did the royal couple really manage to find the teleportation mineral? Were they really saved? The main character brought Archon. Are there any corpses in this room right now? Damien didn't want to get his clothes dirty. He just knocked out the lustful old man and his servant. Or did he really just knock them out? They don't have much time. They need to act quickly and hope that there won't be any consequences later. The Archon will check and take the magical mineral. There is very little left, and the magical balance will be restored. Something was clearly wrong. Damien suddenly began to feel threatened. Let the humans not even think that they will be able to return to the magic tower so easily. The main character feels the deadly aura of this sorcerer's magic. Archon faces inevitable death. Well, the magician realizes that he will not be able to avoid the attack of the dark sorcerer. What will be his last step? In an instant, the main character's magic became so powerful that it became an invisible shield for everything around her. This can't be. Magic of such cosmic power is capable of absorbing even the matter of chaos. Who is she? Everything didn't go according to plan. Her existence itself was abnormal. Did the Dark Lord guess? How could a mage who was subject to magical overload use so much magic? The Black Wolves will not stop at anything. This is just the beginning of the global chaos. The dark matter will consume each of them, even the Queen's light. Their fate is already sealed. The Black Wolf minion has activated teleportation magic. He will tell his master about Celia's power. This means that the main character is now in even greater danger than she ever was. Now she is a target for the Chaos Riders. The Archon is now alive only thanks to Her Majesty. Why did the Queen risk herself so much for the sake of a simple magician? The Queen's life was much more valuable than his own. Hadn't he and Archon become friends on the way here? Although the magician did not say a word, his eyes showed an oath of loyalty to the girl who once saved his life. The Viscount's guards were already crowded behind the doors, and there were many more of them than expected. Count Waldorf should be waiting for them in the forest with a carriage. They need to hurry. Will they be able to just leave? His Majesty should not waste his strength. Now the Archon can activate teleportation. They are saved. That sorcerer had exactly the same brooch as the maddened Kiara, and the flow of magic corresponded to the matter of the Black Wolves, which meant that the darkness was always nearby. But the Archon doesn't bring up one thing, why the Chaos Clan thinks that if they don't get into the tower, its power will change. It is necessary to report the alarming state of affairs to the owner of the tower as soon as possible, to see if the forces of darkness have already gained enough strength. Should the main characters be worried about Celia's strength, how she managed to spew out such power during the reboot? The Archon has no answer. The Queen seems fine, but the use of such a volume of unstable magic is truly terrifying. In fact, the main character now feels more beautiful than ever, but what should this mean? Only the highest mages and the tower's master can restore such unstable mana on their own. Who is Celia Semele? What fate has gifted her with is not without reason. What will she have to pay for it with? The magician cast protective magic on the main characters. They can no longer waste time. The magic tower will already meet them. Without a protective spell, unbearable hallucinations are possible during teleportation. Celia had already forgotten about this. Does the main character have fragments of memory that cause him such pain? Dimion is worried. The girl would like to become a safe haven for him and protect him from everything. Take away all his pain and fears. Erase all the darkness from the chambers of his memory, what his soul aches about. The Archon will be waiting for the royal couple in the magic tower. He hopes that she will welcome them warmly. So much has happened in the last few days, bright memories mixed with the dark trail of a new threat. The couple didn't even have time to talk about whether they would have a chance to do it in the tower. A bright flash of light was followed by severe dizziness. The entire space around changed. It's time for the Crown Prince to wake up. Mion went outside for the first time in a long time. This must be a very tiring day for the future king, but it must be endured. Today there will be a banquet in honor of the heir to the throne, and Dimion has a special role to play. Today is the little prince's birthday. How can one not thank the gods for this day? Dimion has no choice. The hero of the occasion is obliged to be present at his celebration. Many of the court aristocrats arrived early to congratulate the crown prince in person, including Sister Iris. It's time to do the most unpleasant part of the holiday, convincingly greet their ill-wishers. If the god's favorite had been at the banquet, the troubles hanging over the royal family would certainly have passed them by. After the oracle's prediction, Princess Ametrine received countless marriage proposals. Semele may not make it in time. However, not long ago, the great oracle inexorably predicted to everyone that the favorite of the gods must marry the chosen one of the gods. But who is he? The child's gloomy eyes involuntarily made him remember. A terrible threat will always follow him like a silent shadow. Semele's family carried a monstrous curse in their blood. It appeared by chance and skipped generations. Those born of the curse were gifted with exceptional intelligence and physical strength, so perfect that they could hardly be considered human. The dark gifts of the heirs were a side effect of the dragon blood that flowed through their veins, and that power carried its own death. The monstrous gifts fed on the life force of living beings, indiscriminately devouring the lives of people, animals, and plants. Any living creature that came into easy contact with the cursed one was instantly doomed to death. This could have led to the fall of the royal line, so their ancestors kept the curse of their blood a secret. The terrifying gift began to manifest itself at the age of 5. Then the cursed child was isolated and they tried to cure him with sacred power, but all was in vain. When there were no other life forms nearby in the isolation, the curse would begin to consume the life force of its bearer. Because of dragon blood, its carriers died in terrible agony and complete loneliness, all except the main character. When Dimion survived the critical age of 5, it was like a divine blessing, and a feast was held in his honor for the whole world. The speech is about to begin. We need to get little Iris out of the clutches of the heiress of the House of Sorcians. The parents of the last heir to the royal family were so happy that their son no longer had to sit in confinement. It would seem that on this wonderful and sunny day, when everything looked so happy, no trouble could happen. The king's lungs filled with air again, and the terrible tragedy passed his only son by. The yellow-feathered baby briskly pecked the ground, bouncing off passers-by, which unfortunately attracted the attention of the heir. Since the main character spent his entire life imprisoned in a tower, the boy had never seen birds before. In one of the books I read, it was said that birds are very shy. Is this true? As soon as the child's fingers touched the canary's fluffy plumage, his eyes filled with life. The prince managed to touch the bird, but for the little creature, his touch became a death sentence. As the impenetrable darkness began to engulf the body of the cursed child, a terrible thunderstorm broke out. The terrible messenger had not yet managed to notify the guests of the impending tragedy. They continued to rejoice at the celebration, suspecting nothing. The high priest has come to the banquet today for a reason. He needs to convey a new prophecy to the royal house. The oracle predicted that peace would come when the dragon's heir married the chosen one of the gods. The heavenly office has its own plans for these children, and only the gods know what their union will serve. When it all happened, the terrible realization did not come immediately. It was in no hurry. Giving way to fear, the priest could not believe it. That day, the royal palace was filled with terrifying screams and cries for help. Nymeria refused to accept such reality. The frightened child writhed on the cold ground in pain, fear, and confusion. Mion couldn't stop it. No one could do this. All the guests left the banquet in horror. Not a single one of those present rushed to help the damned boy. The protagonist was completely alone when the darkness closed in on him, but his light did not fade. They had to save their child. The king couldn't let Nymeria die at the hands of his own son and didn't let her come near. With a determination that would be hard to expect from a child, Mion rose to his feet despite the excruciating pain and asked why he was bringing death. After the monstrous celebration, the nobles demanded an explanation from the king. The curse broke out and could no longer be hidden. The drought on the continent and all the terrible cataclysms were now blamed on the cursed child. The poor boy's condition was unstable, precariously balancing between life and death. The high priest barely managed to suppress the curse with divine power, but it cannot be contained for long. The question remained as to how this could have happened, since the period of manifestation of the blood curse had already passed. The palace guards could no longer contain the onslaught of the enraged nobles and keep them locked up. The king had to make a decision. He would lock his son in the tower again so that no one else would be harmed. It was a sentence. The child was doomed to a terrible and lonely death in a cold dungeon. Mother could not allow this to happen, but Blackford Semele, neither as a father nor as a king, could do anything. Then the little hero made a decision for his parents. He would go into confinement in the tower. Because of Dimian, that yellow canary died. Innocent people suffered. The boy does not want to harm anyone. Here the high priest proposed a solution that would affect the history of the continent more than any other. The royal family must seek help from a magic tower. An ancient book said that a magician once helped the king when he lost control. But to get to the tower, they will have to reveal the secret to other countries, which the ancestors of their family kept at any cost. Then the main character's mother took the entire burden of this decision upon herself. Nymeria will go to the tower alone. However, the mother's selflessness exacted a cruel price, because the path to the magic tower passes through an icy valley. The curse is only temporarily suppressed. The mother's life force will inevitably be exhausted after such a long time spent next to her son. But for Nymeria, the price didn't matter. She couldn't watch her child die. The woman asked only one thing from the king, that he force all the nobility to remain silent until she returned. It was the least the king could do for his son, so he agreed. The royal crew dropped Nymeria off with her child in her arms at the icy valley, and she was then left to make her own way. But for the mother, no obstacle seemed impossible to overcome in order to save the child. Nymeria would soon return. The high priest promised to contact the magician, but warned that the likelihood of his compassion for the heir was extremely low. And the endless edges of the icy valley are dangerous in themselves, but Nymeria went anyway. What could possibly matter when her child's life was dying in her arms? Nymeria asks her son for only one thing. Mion must hold out. The magician will definitely help them. The woman overcame the difficult and dangerous path in record time, in spite of the whole world. Time was her worst enemy now, and she could not lose this fight. To Nymeria's surprise, they were immediately met at the tower by a mage, for which they had to thank the high priest. The priest managed to warn the witch, but did not say that Queen Semele herself would come. Argana was about to leave the magic tower, but the high priest assured her that this was a matter of continental scale. The sorceress has little time, as does the crown prince Semele. The queen begs the witch on her knees to help the boy. He is only 5 years old. He is dying. Even from this distance, Argana could feel that this child had been exposed to dragon blood. And among all the representatives of Semele's family, Demian is most subject to the influence of Dynamis. The dragon blood curse is not something that can be reversed. The inexorable sentence knocked the last of the women's strength out of them. Then Argana took pity on her and the innocent child. If the queen wants to save the life of the crown prince, she must follow the oracle's prediction. This is the only way to rescue the child from the iron clutches of death. Due to the dark gift that consumes life, the long journey to the tower took a heavy toll on the queen. However, even at this moment, the mother was thinking of only one thing. She was begging the witch for one more favor for her child. The queen asks Argana to erase all these monstrous memories of the curse from her son and the nobles locked in the castle. Living under the shadow of a terrible curse was too traumatic. Mion has the right to grow up happy. Argana will erase all painful memories only out of compassion for the child. However, she asks that you no longer approach her with such a request. This magic is too unpredictable. A shudder ran through the main character's body, and a voice sounded in his head. Her voice. The heroine was so scared. Mion lost consciousness and did not wake up for so long. It seems that Archon was right. The whole time, the young man was wheezing and moaning painfully, as if something was tormenting his consciousness. The main character thought he saw something, but Dimian can't remember anything. The memory was torn apart, each fragment reflecting the moment, but the whole image was unrecognizable. So the heroes successfully passed the magical barrier, but where did the magician go? The Archon went to check the situation in the tower and promised to return soon. It is unknown what else the chaos managed to strike. All this time, the young people did not even suspect that black wolves were constantly following them. You should not trust anyone. At the moment when the main characters were preparing to face danger, a child appeared from the bushes. In the magic tower, boys and girls cannot walk around peacefully. What do they need here? The baby's name is Trixie. She has been living here for a long time and has never seen these two before. It seems that even children are now being taken to the magic tower, such is their agreement with Semele. Trixie may show herself to the guests of the neighborhood. The main characters must refuse her. Now the young people should wait for their friend. There is a lot at stake. They cannot waste time. Trixie would wait with Celia. She was also looking for her child. The girl couldn't have misheard. Surely the girl is talking about a friend of her age. Trixie can wait for him with the adults. They won't regret it. The little girl, with the zeal of a predator, immediately grabbed the heroine's hand, and Dimian had a bad feeling. Why is the main character standing so far away? Let him come closer and give his hand to Celia. This can't be done. The boy must give his hand to Trixie. The girl will be able to tolerate him for a couple of minutes. There's definitely something wrong with this child, and it's not just that the girl is trying to push Damien away from Celia. Now they all look like a real family, because Celia wants to be a family for Trixie. Celia was already Dimian's family, in which there was no place for the nasty shorty. Trixie had never seen such a greedy boy. This girl greedily clung to Celia, deliberately leaving no room for Damien. At the peak moment, the argument between the two greedy men was interrupted by a belated magician. The perimeter was clear. The main characters can enter the magic tower. They are lucky, since it is already the end of the working day. There are few people in the lobby. If the young people hurry, their arrival will remain a secret. Celia bombarded the magician with questions, but he stared frantically at one point, wanting to know what was going on here. Is everything okay with Archon? In response, the magician only hoarsely asked for forgiveness. Something is wrong here. After a disapproving look, the girl jumped up from her seat as if a child dared to be late. The people of the magic tower are known for manipulation and cunning tricks. This was one of them. The only thing that could be said for sure was that the girl was the owner of the magic tower, and the tower's lord clearly had no plans to play fair with the young men. Finally, all the main characters gathered in the tower, and what should this mean? After all, the main characters came here risking their lives to hear the whole story, didn't they? A blinding flash of light, a click, and where were the main characters this time? The tower's mistress teleported her guests to the Archmage's room. The Archon is here for the first time. What did the ruler have in mind? So Trixie Arvana is an Archmage and the manager of the Magic Tower, but isn't it too early for her to rule? The connection with the Archon was broken in Semele. Since it was not within his competence, the head will forgive him. However, stealing magical minerals is the Archon's oversight. Doesn't he know that they are objects of special security? This is the worst nightmare, and it is happening in reality. Is it really going to happen? Archon begs not to throw him out of the tower. The tower's mistress shouldn't blame her magician for everything. The magical mineral was stolen by black wolves. Wasn't it the magical tower that gave birth to these dangerous extremists who seek to turn the world into chaos? The main character likes Trixie more and more. Why did she hide herself from the tower for so long? It is better to find out how to punish a subordinate after the purpose of the guest's arrival is known. So the main character wants to propose a revision of the agreement between Semele and the Magic Tower. Now the tower's mistress understands what prompted the king himself to come here in person, but there is an important, unresolved question. Why doesn't Semele's heir apologize for hiding such a powerful mage for so long? Nothing can be hidden from the eyes of the tower's mistress, but something is still hidden from the eyes of the protagonist. Or rather, they hid it deliberately, because Celia understands what the Tower Lord is talking about now. To claim that the girl has primitive powers, having such mana, would be an irreparable mistake. Let Celia think carefully about her choice. Even though 14 years have passed, she still came here herself. They are still family with her, so Celia is forgiven, who allowed to call her family. The queen will not enter the tower. Of course, Celia will join, otherwise it would not be a violation of the agreement between Semele and the tower. The agreement had been fulfilled with other countries for hundreds of years, and the hostess would not revise it just because of Semele. Semele will take part in a full-scale war against the evil spirits that threaten the tower. Mion has put everything on the line. Provided that his queen does not become a prisoner of the tower, the king's bid is rejected. The tower needs more. This is the best solution for the tower, since its owner is losing her powers. A shudder immediately ran through the witch's body. Isn't it strange that the communication device broke down? The magical artifact was stolen by the Black Wolves. And the ruler of the tower, knowing about the threat, did nothing, or rather could not. When rumors about the god's favorite were circulating 14 years ago, Trixie probably suspected her of being a sorceress, but she didn't take her because she wasn't completely sure. Every country sent their best mages to find out Celia's powers, all except the tower. Only its leader was inactive. Wasn't that unusual? There is only one conclusion to be drawn. The tower's mistress no longer has the opportunity or strength to interfere. The air in the hall became stuffy. As before a thunderstorm, King Semele is truly like the gods. The mistress of the tower was sure that his lordship would be too busy with his own affairs to notice. But alas, the mistress's magic is truly running out, so much so that she is forced to use the power of her children. And the reason why the great and terrible ruler of the tower looks like a child is precisely because her power is fading. This form has proven itself to be quite effective. It is the most effective for protection and maintaining the balance of magic. However, even if Trixie doesn't have powers, she is still the head of the magic tower, and they understand what that means. The Lord met so many people that even the children who followed him dared to turn away. People are followed by lies everywhere, so why should Trixie believe them? The tower's mistress sees no benefit for herself, and she doesn't care about their wishes. Haven't the children heard that only self-interest lives in the tower? Trixie can banish Damien right now and lock Celia in the magical tower forever, so what's to stop her? And when the monstrous decision was about to be made, Archon stepped forward with a determination that would hardly have been expected from a newcomer. The magician will prove to the tower's ruler that the main characters are worth trusting. Damien and Celia are those rare people who will not betray even under the pressure of death. The Archon had not met as many people as the Lord had seen, but the main characters were truly not like everyone else. The royal couple were so kind to the unknown magician without any benefit for themselves. And most importantly, the queen shielded the magician when the dark sorcerer cast a deadly spell at him. They can rightfully consider themselves friends because Archon vouches for the main characters and demands that they reconsider the decision. When this happens, sometimes the girl really begins to believe that each of them is connected for a reason. They are all like cogs in one mechanism, the purpose of which is known only to the gods. The ruler must trust the Archon at least once. Even the child who lived only for magic switched sides. The main character also asks the tower's mistress to have mercy on her and unite in the face of a common threat. The main character will not bow his head, but he can give his word. The Black Riders of Chaos have made his queen a target, and Damien will not rest until he has destroyed them all. The minions of the Black Wolves freely penetrate even into the royal palace, and this means only one thing. The dark mages are closely connected to the high nobility, so wouldn't it be extremely beneficial for the tower to change the agreement? The magic tower is a symbol of peace, so it cannot openly interfere in political strife. And Semele can help the tower in matters in which she cannot interfere. Trixie will not hear a more advantageous offer. I would like to know where this new branch of this story will lead. So be it. However, Ash is still the mistress of the tower, and she will not simply agree to an agreement. What does this mean? Before changing the 100-year agreement, the mistress will test whether they are capable of dealing with the Black Wolves. If the tower mistress has prepared a test for them, what is it? Everything is simpler than the main characters had time to imagine. They need to show their abilities. There can be no doubt that even in strength, Damien is like the gods, but fighting with magicians is something much more dangerous. The main character knows this himself, because he has encountered dark followers more than once. Since Archon vouched for the main characters, he undertakes to train Damien to fight the mages. The Lord gives them a week. Let Damien try to defeat the magician without harming him. And Archon should not feel sorry for Damien, because the young man is not a magician. He understands what the mistress is talking about. It is worth thinking about the involuntary sides of the king that appear when he is in danger. They contain the key to victory. The protagonist will show them all to Archon. Let him take care of Damien. And now the favorite of the gods, her magic is much more stable than the ruler expected, which is her mystery. However, this will not be enough. Celia will also be given only 1 week to test. The main character does not know how to control her magical flow. Training from a high-ranking magician is needed here. The girl has only a week to learn to cope with her own gut. If at least one of the main characters fails the test, Celia will be locked in the tower forever, and Damien will return alone. The main character came here because she doesn't want to part with her loved one, but she might lose him forever. It will depend on a week whether Celia will lose the most precious thing again. She is afraid again. Damien will not allow her to experience the pain of loss again, no matter what it costs him, but will fate agree with him? And as soon as the favorite of the gods restrained her power, the magic, once out of control, will explode further. They come to the tower to prevent this. So the main characters stay here for a week. How will it all end for them? Isolation, pressure, danger. The week will be long, but there is no turning back. Everything the main characters wanted was on the other side of fear. They knew it. The Archon leads Damien to the men's bedroom, but the king has no intention of parting with his wife. As tenants of the tower, the young people must follow the rules, or Damien may return to Semele alone. The choice is up to the protagonist. Trixie will sleep with Celia tonight, won't she? Before the two fight, the magician takes his highness to the men's bedroom. Everything will be fine with the queen. This won't be the first time Celia has spent the night without Mion, but it will be the first time her heart will be so heavy. But does the main character have a choice? In order not to lose him, she will have to part for a short time. The Lord specially decorated the room for Celia, and it is truly beautiful here. But without Mion, all the colors of the world seem to be different. Trixie bought all this furniture 300 years ago, and now it looks vintage. How old is the ruler? Before training, the main characters should replenish their strength. From tomorrow on, every step could doom them to separation. To the other children of the Archmage, the royal couple are mages who were on a long business trip. As it turned out, coming to an agreement with the owner of the magic tower was an impossible task, but Mion still managed to cope. However, the main characters will have to stay here longer than they expected. Will everything be okay? The main character didn't feel safe, but she knew that Mion was here, and her heart found peace. Celia's tremors of excitement were interrupted by a cheerful red-haired assistant named Helen. Is it really customary for magicians in the magic tower to take such good care of each other? That means Celia never had a magician as an assistant. And how is Helen different from other magicians? Assistants have less power than junior magicians. Assistants cannot perform magic, but in exceptional cases they awaken power when near mages. This is a very rare occurrence. Usually the assistants give up early and leave the tower, but not Helen. She loves magic. But there are not many loyal magic assistants left in the tower. The world's attitude towards magic is changing. Is this a good thing? The main character would like to know where the young man who arrived with her is. The lady means her brother. It seems he is now downstairs in his chambers. Mion will definitely strangle Trixie. The assistant can pass on Celia's words to her brother. Is this really the only way to contact him now? How to come to terms with the fact that while the main characters live in the tower, she will have to be without Mion. How long had it been since Celia had been apart from him? They had been inseparable since childhood. The main character seemed to have returned to her confinement again. It immediately became so cold and scary. What other trials will she have to endure? Anxious thoughts were interrupted by persistent knocking. Apparently the assistant had forgotten something. The girl needed silence more than other people's words. All this was at the wrong time. However, the doors of the room did not open after the knock, so where did this sound come from? Could this really be what Celia thinks? On the balcony in the cool evening air stood he, her Mion. But how did he manage to get into the women's wing? The main character looked so confused, as if she didn't expect to see Damien before going to bed. Deep night, dark eyes radiating warmth and confidence, everything fell into place again. But how did Mion manage to get into her bedroom since it's located at the very top of the tower? The Archon let it slip that Celia's room was located directly above Damien's bedroom, and the young man simply climbed over the balcony to her. The main character made his way into the room holding only onto the railing, which meant that at any moment Mion could fall and crash. This night could be their last. Mion has no right to risk her life. Celia's voice trembled. She can't live without him. As soon as Mion was next to her, a soft warmth enveloped the entire room. Now it seems to her that together they can overcome everything. How strange! And when did Mion's scar from the explosion disappear from his face? The main character risked his life to see his queen, and she only scolds him. Damien had already told her that he would never allow them to be separated from Celia, but it seemed the gods were on their side. But is this true only after losing Mion could the girl feel how much she missed him? The main character missed her so much, these words are worth risking your life for. For now, only one thing is certain. Both heroes will be delayed in the magic tower. Isn't Mion against it? It's okay. So that his queen's magic doesn't get out of control again and harm her, Damien will be here for eternity. And on the most ordinary days of their lives, when everything seemed safe, Celia was attacked by the Chaos Riders. And each time the main character could do nothing, for the first time Damien felt so helpless. The battle with the mages is different from the usual training taught in the royal palace. The hero should prepare for the future. This is an opportunity for Damien to grow so that he can protect his queen from any danger. And today the main character was made to feel helpless again when it happened. How dare that vile old man talk to Queen Semele like that? And her king was forced to just watch. He is still angry. But Mion could have sacked it at any moment. On the contrary, it took him titanic strength to restrain himself. However, this is still not enough, and always will be. From now on, everything will be different. Whatever happens to the main characters, Damien will not let his queen suffer at any cost. Is it possible for a person to cause such a storm of feelings? Celia can hardly hold them inside, and is about to explode. Very soon the main characters will begin grueling training, and they will have absolutely no time for cozy conversations. You need to have time to enjoy every warm word of his, every caring movement, but how can you get your fill? Next time the main character climbs over the balcony to Mion, then the queen will have to be punished for such carelessness. Something tells the main character that she will even like punishment from Mion. Damien had been so preoccupied with his queen's safety the entire time that he had only noticed her revealing pajamas. Why does his queen only have ribbons, and where is the fabric itself? Why did Celia never wear such things in Semele? This is too much. It is illegal to dress a wife in such beautiful pajamas and lock her husband in another room. The protagonist wishes that only he would be allowed to see Celia in such an attractive form. Mion always expresses his feelings for a girl so clearly, every word he says is a direct hit. It would be better for Damien to go to his room. His queen needs to conserve her strength, and the young man won't be able to restrain himself for long. Celia no longer had to fight her body. It was safe. Ever since his queen confessed her love, it has become increasingly difficult for Damien to control himself, but that is now in the past. The main character wants to be closer to him. Today, Celia felt it first. Tonight, everything will change.